and into the end zone for a touchdown as Thornton goes to Snead. Tyquan Thornton with a touchdown pass to R.J. Snead.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Russ comes this way with a throw, and Cooper juggles, and he's going to make the catch at the 40-yard line.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
And that is picked up. How dangerous. Woods on the return. Cuts to the outside. And he's taken down with 2 seconds remaining.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
A lot of window dressing here on 2nd and goal. Smith comes back into the backfield. They run Bohannon with blockers in front and into the end zone. Gary Bohannon.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome in. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Chat room's already going. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. You notice the man in the middle here is out today. He's going to a Rolling Stones concert, guys. So,
yeah, I was a little bit jealous when I found that out yesterday that he was going to see the Stones, and I actually have been on a little bit of a rock, like older rock kick over the last year and a half or so. A lot of the old 60s British blues bands that, basically ripped their style from American black blues artists, but still I love their twist on it, and the Stones are obviously one that heavily took from that genre and put their twist on it. So, yeah, not many opportunities to see them, I wouldn't think. And people have been saying that for probably 2 decades now, but really, like, they're running out of time, truly. So, yeah, that'll be cool to see.
Well, the text I sent on Smokey's, the chat with us, when he sent it to us, like, hey, Eric, his friend Eric said, hey, I've got an extra ticket to this Rolling Stones concert in Dallas tomorrow night. Do you want to go? And he said, hey, is it okay with you guys if I miss the show? And I'm like, yeah. I said, you may not have many times to see them before you die.
Yeah,
because
true.
Keith and Mick will outlive us all.
Yeah, I guess I actually did see the Stones, though, when they performed at the Super Bowl. I mean, that's not the same, but no. I seem to recall them, like, walking by at one point through the media area or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, like, Keith and Mick and the whole crew, and they had, obviously, an important passing here recently. Yeah. But, yeah, it's a cool opportunity.
Yeah. Joey Kelly got to see the Stones on their last performance before the pandemic. Okay.
Very
Good
nice.
Deal. I was supposed to go see them in Houston a couple years ago, and then Mick had his heart valve replacement, so I didn't get to see them, and that was a bummer. But maybe one day I'll go see them. But I do think this about, you mentioned the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl halftime show, if you ever get to see one, it's usually really cool unless the artist is like Maroon 5 and they suck and they ruin the whole thing.
Or The Weeknd, even though I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, but it's not really a concert so much you can say, like, I saw them, like, it just makes you want to go see, like, I saw Justin Timberlake. It makes me want to go see a full Justin Timberlake show because it was really awesome, and but yeah, that's not really, it doesn't count like as a full concert.
No, yeah, the Super Bowl, no, it's kind of a highlight reel, if anything. But yeah, he asked me, and I was talking to him about it, like, oh, you're seeing the Stones. I was, historically to me, that's pretty cool. And he's like, well, could probably try and I'm like, no, there's not. I'm not, like, that's just too short notice. But I almost took him up on it, and I said, well, I don't know how many tours they have left, but if they do, in the next couple years, then I'll try and make it a point to get to that one.
Well, the other thing is, you could always, like, go on a vacation just to go see, like, 3-day little hit just to see the concert in another city and get to experience that and go. I've thought about doing that several times throughout my life. Just kind of a fun question for the chat, and just one concert you have to see before it's too late. Okay. Oh, I mean, one concert you've got to see before it's too late. I'm curious. We've got a lot of questions, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit in Off the Radar, Craig. But we will address at some point during the show Pole Assassin and her monkey.
Oh, yeah. We got to. We have to. That was the biggest story coming out of Monday night. It wasn't the football game or, the World Series, kind of narrowing down to its final days or anything else going on in sports of interest, not even the coaching carousels. It was the Halloween pet monkey incident in Austin, Texas with Jeff Banks and his girlfriend. And yeah, that was, I don't know what that was just so bizarre, honestly. Like just seeing that story when it first came out, the tweet that broke the story, so to speak, of I'm hearing on good authority that, Texas Jeff Banks has got a pet monkey and it bit a kid that was trick-or-treating and whatnot. And so, yeah, I've seen at least Texas has seemed to have fun with it. I saw, a player talking about it. I think it was DeMarvion Overshown maybe that said, I want a pet monkey. Was that the text that you sent?
But that was 2 months ago.
Oh, was that 2 months ago?
Put up this tweet.
I thought that was today.
Armstrong, do you have this tweet? Let me know when you got it. I sent it over to – I thought it was today too. So here gives you – just to give you – and this is just supposed backstory on my part. I'm just trying to, forensically figure out the timeline here. So for those of you who don't know, Jeff Banks is the special teams coach and I believe the recruiting coordinator for Texas, right?
Oh, I don't know if that's my head.
But he's the special teams coach for Texas, Jeff Banks. He is now dating and cohabitating with a stripper whose stage name is Pole Assassin. And Craig, I'm not a person who frequents those type of places. Not that I'm not going to sit here and tell you I haven't been in one. But I'll tell you this. If I walked into a place and the next thing I heard was now coming to the stage, Pole Assassin, that's a place I'm going to go, you know what? I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I don't know. It's usually like Diamond or Mercedes. I feel like Pole Assassin. That's a little more serious. But yeah, that was just again bizarre. I mean, all the details from a pet monkey to biting a trick or treater to a girlfriend who's a stripper. Which hey, get it how you can get it or whatever. But and then her name Pole Assassin. Like the whole thing was just strange, and it's fun to see how that played out. And obviously, Texas fans were like, well, he was at A&M before, trying to get it away from us. And A&M fans are like, no, this is all you, brother. He's at Texas right now. So, yeah, that was a fun story.
Yeah, all right, here is the tweet. This is from 2 months ago, August 20th. And this is DeMarvion Overshown tweets out, I really want a pet monkey. And then defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski just tweets back, no, you don't.
Yeah.
So
don't.
I'm guessing that he knows of the tribulations of living with a monkey through maybe the stories of their special teams coach.
Very, very possible. I've heard that, those things can be a handful to take care of. So, you saw Ross on Friends had Marcel, and I think a bunch of people in America had the desire to get like pet spider monkeys. And, basically those people who know about animals were like, no, I don't think you realize, like you're seeing like a 30-second clip where the monkey's well behaved, but in real life, those things are absolute terrors and will, stress you the blank out for sure. Not the best pets.
Yeah.
But obviously biting trick-or-treaters, that's not good.
And when you're 4-4, these things, if they were 8-0, this would be a lot fun.
The pet monkey would be a part of like the touchdown celebrations on the sidelines if they were 8-1 or something like that.
Yeah, but 4-4 and lost 3 games in a row, possibly going to lose 4 in a row, and they got Iowa State this week in Ames. That's even though Iowa State's coming off a loss, I don't want to go play them coming off a loss in Ames. That's going to be a tough one. So yeah, it's not a cute story when you're 4-4.
I mean, it still kind of is, honestly. I mean, I think it's, if anything, I think that instead of it being some like massive embarrassment, which I'm sure it is to some extent, it just kind of like releases the tension because it's just so ridiculous that, yeah, you're moping around and you're not happy about 3 losses in a row and now you got to go play Iowa State. But at the same time, it's some comic relief, I think. It's kind of a moment to just sort of laugh at. I don't know how, the behind the scenes with the pet monkey and the child who was bit or whatever. I don't know what that's, where that is or what needs to be taken care of there, if anything. But it just, a little bit of comic relief, and I'm sure the players are probably having fun with it more than it being some dire thing. But I'll tell you, Iowa State, that was a massively disappointing loss for them this past weekend. I mean, going to Morgantown, you always feel like that's, some treacherous territory. Some years, obviously more treacherous than others. And this year, it's still, a road environment, and that's not always a given. And I think Iowa State probably felt like the win the week prior over Oklahoma State was, their get right, and they were just going to, be on their way. I can't help but feel that they came in somewhat underprepared or overconfident, one or the other or both, because of the way that they performed. It was, what some Iowa State fans have said, maybe their worst defensive performance in the last 5 years. That's heavy words right there. And, offensively, they're still very good, but, Jarrett Doege played a good game overall, had a couple picks. One of them wasn't his fault, but they got the running game going. He made some big throws. Receivers made some big plays, and their defense made some big plays, and that was a heck of a win. I know there was some weird officiating at times in that game. A lot that went against Iowa State, some that went against West Virginia, though, too. But that's, even Iowa State fans will tell you that's not why they lost. I mean, it didn't help. It certainly hurt, but they lost because they didn't play a good game. So I think they will definitely be in bounce-back mode. And, Texas, I mean, they're looking at under 500 or going back above 500. And we know for Iowa State, any losses from this point on, already it's a disappointment what's happened, but any more would just further drive home that point.
Yeah, officiating is never a reason you lose a game. It's a reason that doesn't help. I mean, I say never, but, sometimes it can be. But you need to play well enough each week so that bad calls don't completely kill you.
Right.
Or questionable calls, 50-50, don't go against you. All right.
Well, that's the thing, is Iowa State still could have won that game despite the officiating. They just didn't play well enough.
Yeah, exactly. All right. On our little concert question, Alan says Trans-Siberian Orchestra, somebody he has to see. Benjamin Wells says George Strait, seen him 5 times. That's
one I'd like to see, too.
Every time better than the time before, too.
I've missed out, and I've probably had so many opportunities, but I didn't get into George Strait until later on in life, really the last few years. So, he'd be a great one to go and see. Absolute legend.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time, but I saw him a bunch, and each time, like I said, better than the last one. Aiden says Rammstein or Baby Metal.
Okay.
And we have
Baby Metal.
And then RH5 also says Rammstein, no contest. Biscuits and Gravy. Thank you so much. Paul at the Comedy Club. My must see. Thank you. They're the one. Let's see. Joey Kelly says the Brian Setzer Orchestra.
All right.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
I haven't either. It's been a little while.
Well,
okay.
Daniel Acton. Texas fans want to see the Arctic Monkeys.
I like the Arctic Monkeys.
I do too.
But I get the joke as well, but I really like the Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah. Jennifer Witcher, by the way, on the pole assassin monkey story, the best or worst part of this whole story is that they knew about the monkey.
Yeah, this thing, that wasn't the surprise. It was, I think, even the story, the reaction to it. Initially, it was oh my gosh, a monkey bit a trick-or-treater, and oh wow, Jeff Banks has a pet monkey. But I think more people, once the girlfriend news came out, were far more obsessed with that aspect of it, from her name to her apparent occupation or former occupation. That was the one that really grabbed the headlines, it seemed like.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Let's see. By the way, Jeff Banks had his own issues at A&M, according to Jennifer. Got suspended without pay because of a presentation to an Aggie women's clinic. He was one of those guys.
Yeah,
remember
I remember that.
They did that thing, and it was not well handled.
No.
Yeah, all the way around. So let's see. There's a lot. Terrence says Paul deserves another crack at that control panel. Jack is not letting him anywhere near the room today. He's repaired everything. He's done a great job. And I'm not allowed in the, if I need a bottle of water, Jack has to go get it for me.
That's probably smart, given what happened yesterday.
Yeah, Jack will give me a bottle of water. Thanks.
We'll get him pop right up and run on over.
But let's see, Matthew McCallum, Foo Fighters, absolute must see. That's my favorite band. Saw them a couple years ago on my birthday.
Yeah, I know. Great. Yeah, I mean, while we're sticking to music for a second, I actually just yesterday saw I don't know how recent the video is, but there's been some. I'm a huge Nirvana fan. Just love Nirvana, and I know they're not the greatest band in the world, but to me, they're just my favorite. They meant a lot to me when I was growing up. But Dave Grohl has kind of slowly but surely started like inching back towards the Nirvana days, and obviously it's like touchy territory. And for a long time, he would barely talk about it at all. And even when he did, it was always very kind of negative, quite frankly. Not towards like Cobain in particular, but just like he really much like limited what he actually did in the band and kind of, soft played it. But, apparently he and Chris Novoselic and Pat Smears have gotten together multiple times and have played Nirvana songs together off the record. But then he was doing something the other day, and I saw a YouTube video of him playing drums like he did for Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is the first time I've seen him do that, and it was pretty stinking cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty stinking. I think he's probably going to be coming out with some Nirvana stuff in the next few years.
Pat Smears plays with the Foo Fighters now.
Yeah.
So
he was with Nirvana at the very end. Yeah.
So I hope that happens. I'm a big. That's a good one. We'll get to some of those throughout the show as we kind of recap where Smokey is. But also from JT and Pikes Peak, Jeff Banks, the highest paid special teams coach in the nation, and no doubt the mastermind behind Saturday's gem of a fake punt on 4th and 11 in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that was. You know what was weird? So the punt that got tipped.
Yeah.
That one. That's the one they should have faked. Because Baylor was coming in block, and there was an uncovered guy on the outside that they could have, and it was a shorter. It wasn't 4th and 11. It was 4th and less than 11. I don't know. I'm not going to talk in a turn, but it was less than 4th and 11. They could have easily gotten that one, but the one that they faked was just not a spot to fake it.
No, it wasn't, and it was some bad decision making, quite frankly. I mean, to even have the call on when you got to have 11 yards, and obviously Dicker didn't execute the way that he should have. I mean, I would have to imagine there was a pass to throw there somewhere or anything other than what he did, because he was never going to pick up 11 yards on that Baylor defense, especially when they let it be known after the game that they knew that was coming, that they had scouted that out, they'd seen the look, and that they were ready for it. And that's why they smacked him about 2 yards after he took off on the run and came nowhere close. But that's certainly, if you look back on the decisions of Saturday in that Baylor-Texas game, that was the call that decided the game ultimately. Because after that, it was still close, and Texas still had another opportunity. They had a chance after that, but that one really, you just kind of felt like the air gets sucked out of the team, and and you just felt that momentum all on Baylor's shoulders because they obviously took advantage. But yeah, that was a very questionable call. And, Sarkisian took full blame for it. He's owning that call, and, I'm sure they'll, learn from that. But, man, at the time, it was a head-scratcher. It really was.
Yeah. One thing, Craig, we haven't talked about, and we'll talk about the coaching carousel a little bit today as well, because we have Joseph Duarte. He's going to talk Houston and that big win over SMU, and how we've kind of forgotten about Houston for weeks after they lost to Texas Tech and blew a lead against Texas Tech, and now they've not lost since that game. So we'll talk about Joseph Duarte in about 12 minutes. Also, we'll have Drew Davison talk a little bit more about TCU and maybe more about kind of what's coming up. Gary Patterson apparently left a game plan for his assistants to follow this week, and so we'll talk to Drew about that. We have Mack Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics, at his normal time at 4:25 today, and then Craig's off the radar at 4:45, John McClain at 5:30, top five at 5:55 today. But one thing we didn't talk about yesterday, Craig, and we didn't get too much into the Baylor-Texas game, and maybe missed some of our opportunity to do that, but I think the bigger thing coming out of that game, and particularly the game in Morgantown, is that there is now a kind of a new strata of contenders in the Big 12 that has been maybe more cemented with Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Baylor, because Texas, for all intents and purposes, is out of it. I know that there's some sort of miraculous math that could get them in, but they're done. So I don't want the math nerds to be, well, technically, yeah, sure.
They're done.
They're done. Iowa State, for all intents and purposes, is done right now.
They're by a thread, I think. But, yeah, you're looking at these conference races across the country starting to shape up. And, like in the American, you've got, obviously a three-way race with Houston and SMU and Cincinnati obviously at the top of that pack. And, you look around at the ACC and we're heading full bore into a Wake Forest, championship game against who that will be against. I mean, still trying to figure that out. SEC, I mean, obviously Georgia and Alabama look like they're on a bit of a collision course, and the Big Ten right now with Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan with the one loss. I mean, it's really interesting to get into the month of November and start to see these races all become clear. But in terms of the Big 12 in particular, yeah, it's three teams. It's Oklahoma unbeaten, it's Oklahoma State with one loss to Iowa State, and it's Baylor with one loss to Oklahoma State. And there's going to be a situation coming up where Oklahoma has to play both of those schools, Baylor has to play OU, and obviously Oklahoma State will play OU in that final game of the regular season in Bedlam. And, if they keep handling their business, or at least this weekend, Oklahoma has no business to handle. If Baylor can handle TCU on Saturday, which, the game plan thing makes it a little bit more interesting, but they should win that game. Like any outcome for Baylor and Fort Worth this weekend that's not a win, something bad had to have happened. Like, bottom line, they have no business losing that game. And so if they win that game like they should, then that's going to set the table for a monstrous showdown next Saturday between Oklahoma and Baylor and Waco, which could very well get College game day, which could very well be prime time. They're waiting to announce the kickoff after this weekend's games because I think they want to see what Baylor and TCU do. So, yeah, I mean, that would obviously be a massive one. And then depending on that game, you're looking at, the stakes being raised for Bedlam, even more so potentially if Oklahoma were to continue remaining unbeaten. So, yeah, it's a situation where this weekend just take care of your business, and then starting next week, it will really be down to these final three and the nitty-gritty of the race to see who's going to play for the championship.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to get a Baylor kickoff time ahead of time until maybe the Texas Tech game after all that shakes out. They're the last game of the season, I think, because Tech will be kind of maybe out of it. We won't get
Tech? A kickoff for Tech?
Like, we won't know, like, those tickets, we'll get 6-day holds for the rest of the year because Baylor's good.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so because when you have good teams, you're not going to know. That's good news for Baylor fans. It's harder to plan, but it's good news. And I think when you look around the country, what's going on, there's a couple teams like Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State's the one that's really interesting to me because they have to just make sure they do not step in mud before Bedlam. Because if they do, then Bedlam, takes on a whole new meaning, especially say Baylor wins against Oklahoma, then man, that creates another, section of chaos of the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, that would only matter if they lost Bedlam, because they're in control. They got the head-to-head, and, they have just the one loss to Iowa State, and Iowa State doesn't really matter right now, in terms of things. So, well, it's, especially after that West Virginia loss, that really just pushed them to the back. But, yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State's in control of their own destiny. I mean, they win out there in the championship game. It's really simple. Oklahoma wins out there in the championship game. Baylor wins out there in the championship game. So, obviously, those three teams have to play a combination of games, and they're not all three going to win out. One of them might. Oklahoma has the chance to, but I don't think it'll be easy sledding against Baylor. I don't think it'll be easy sledding against Oklahoma State, but before we get into Caleb Williams and what an absolute freak show of a talent he is, even scarier when you realize like so much of what he's doing is just like raw. It's not even like calculated or planned. It's simply just raw talent. That's frightening that he's already that good. And how much better he can get. But first things first, Baylor's got to take care of TCU. I realize with Patterson out, it's going to be different. Like, Aranda ended his press conference yesterday talking about, like, it's going to be different going up there. But, you never know what can happen when you hit the road and when players rally for an interim head coach and probably are pissed off about what's happened with with Gary Patterson and with their head coach they signed up to play for. And that's part of the deal. But I think you look around at Aranda's comments, you look at Lincoln Riley's comments today, I haven't been able to see most everyone else's that I would have liked to have seen from around the Big 12, but coaches are not happy with the Gary Patterson news. Like, I think coaches are very taken aback. Riley and Aranda clearly not real happy with the way college athletics is going and the fact that a guy who did so much for so long and built that program and made that program and obviously got a statue built because of what he did for that program, for him to get kicked to the curbside halfway through a season just because he's struggling, and because, according to Jeremiah Donati, and this is not any breaking news, it's just what we probably knew already, you got to get ahead on the coaching hire. I just think that sucks, man. And I think the coaches think it sucks too, and I don't know what you do about it. But, yeah, a guy like Gary Patterson did all he did, could just get kicked to the curb before November even hits the calendar because, well, we got to worry about those 4-star recruits, and we got to get our guys in here. And, well, I don't know. I don't think you won the last 2 decades because of recruiting for the most part. I think you won because of that head coach. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be gone at some point, but I just think the timing of it, even though I get it, I just think it's pretty foul.
Well, I mean, they offered to let him stay for the end of the year.
They did.
But and look, I think.
But have that conversation towards the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's my thing.
And part of this is, again, once that USC domino fell in week 2 or 3, whatever it was it was tenuous on the rest of the coaching carousel because you've got a big fish in the water, and then LSU's in the water, and that's another big fish, and Texas, and then for TCU, when Texas Tech jumps in the water as well, that's a lot of the people you're going to look at because you want Big 12 people with Big 12 ties more than likely, or Texas ties, or something like that when you're hiring for a Big 12 job. So now you're swimming in the same pool. TCU and LSU weren't swimming in the same pool. TCU and USC weren't swimming in the same pool, but TCU and Tech are swimming in the same pool for their coaching candidates. And I'm back and on the game. I do think though if TCU was good enough to beat Baylor because of one great Gary Patterson game plan, he would have already had those game plans for the other ones. I think that I think they've got a talent and depth issue. Scheme aside, I think that's their biggest deal. And I don't know if they have. I don't think they've got the minerals to get Baylor. But you never know, man. I mean, emotion's a powerful thing. And Baylor just beat a big-time rival in a game that, believe me, everyone got up for because, you're not going to get to play Texas too many more times. So this is the definition of a trap game.
It is, and yet I will say they have no business losing this game. I mean, I'm not even going to try to hype it up and make it sound like it's some daunting challenge. I mean, it is. You're on the road, interim coach, all that. They have no business losing this game. They have zero business losing this game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, when we come back, Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle talks about the Cougars' run and now 7 wins in a row after that, or I guess maybe 6 after that Texas Tech loss, and what lies next for them in the American race. And last time we talked to them was just about them joining the Big 12. Now we can talk about what's going on the field. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads. Crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary, or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, I just called Joseph Duarte. I said he was at 3:30. He's at 3:45. I just looked at the text. So we can do that next time around. It's hard doing two people's job at once on this show.
Yeah, well, we just got another 15 minutes.
That's I know, that's fine. That's fine. It's just a little embarrassing on my part. Hey, where are you? Well, I'm 15 minutes early. All right, Craig, you mentioned that oh, here he is, right here. Okay. Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, joins us now. Joseph, I just looked at the text message. I'm sorry. I'm 15 minutes early. I apologize, but thanks for calling me right back.
Hey, you guys in Waco, you on the Eastern time zone or Pacific or?
I'm on Lombardi time. Except that that doesn't work for radio interviews. I think
I'm on McLean time, so I know the feeling.
I get you. He's on the show today at 5:30, so we're doubling up on your paper today, Joseph. We talked about this a little bit at the end of the show yesterday, and then today. Houston lost to Texas Tech, and it's like the world forgot about them outside of them joining the Big 12 for 6 weeks, and then they beat SMU. It's like, oh wait, they've been good this whole rest of the time, save for that one game. Why did everybody forget about them?
Well, when you look at their schedule, and they weren't going to be playing anybody for the next 6 weeks, that's probably why most people didn't pay much attention, because one, it's been really hard to gauge what to think of this team when you hadn't beaten the team until Saturday with the winning record. So I think that's part of it, but it's fascinating. I mean, they have a huge lead in that opener, end up blowing it in the second half and losing to Texas Tech. And then, hey, they've been celebrating every week like it's a Big 12 acceptance party because they haven't lost since they got into the Big 12. So behind Oklahoma, they may be the best team in the Big 12 right now, in terms of what's going on. But it was hard to sort of pay much attention, and rightfully so, just because there hasn't been any big weeks on the schedule until SMU.
Joseph, what's it been like with Holgerson this year? I mean, obviously, I would think things are a little rosier just because, hey, they're 7-1 after all. But last year was just weird. We don't really need to recap that. What's it been like with Holgerson now this season?
We've actually seen some smiles. There have been documented smiles.
Oh, nice.
There hasn't been a lot of that, obviously, in his first 2 years, but they knew coming in that things set up well. They changed the schedule around to make it a little bit more accommodating. And then you go out and you have guys in place. You have your numbers in place in the secondary up front. And, you really, your big question mark coming in was a wide receiver. And they sort of had started to sort that out as we got into the second half of the season. But, when he was making $4 million, going into this year, there were going to be a lot of expectations, and even with the soft schedule, some were saying that it was 9 wins or more, or there could be some serious talks that would have to be made. But Houston is on pace for an 11-win regular season, because there's not much between them and the finish line, and nobody. Well, I don't want to say nobody, but if you would have thought that they would not only have a chance to play in the American Championship game. Cincinnati could slip somewhere, especially with SMU still left, and Houston could hope at that championship game. So a lot of football to be played, but they certainly are in a much better place than they were, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago versus, 2 years ago.
Yeah, the toughest game is Memphis is 4-4 left, and the rest are South Florida, Temple, and UConn. That's not too rough of a schedule on the way out to that championship game.
No, it's certainly no murderer's row, but those are the games. Houston at some point in 2015 they lost to UConn, and that was their big slip up to an undefeated season. The following year it was the Navy, so they've had their slip up, and that's the warning this week, that you can't go out there and take anything for granted. There's no talk of the ranking or anything championship game related, but you have to avoid that one little slip somewhere down the line, and any of those remaining 4 could be one of those, just because you overlook them. But this program, given that they haven't had that late run of success, I think that they'll be in a good place preparing each game, cliche as it may be, and I think they'll be focused. So it'll be interesting where, come the Memphis game, they are, because depending on what happens in the Cincinnati SMU game, Houston could have to, lose 2 of their last 3 to not even get a spot in the championship game. So they're really in the driver's seat right now.
Joseph, Clayton Tune's been around for a little while now, but he's coming off perhaps his best performance statistically this past weekend. Over 400 yards, had 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Pretty good day for one Clayton Tune. What kind of a development have you seen from him since getting that first appearance a few years back, seeing a little time here and there, and now having been full bore for a while? What's the development been like under Holgerson, in particular this season?
If anyone needed a shot of redemption, or the ability to sort of say, I turn this around, or just give me my chance and I'll prove you. It's Clayton Tune. Like you said, he was the in and out guy for De'Aaron King, whether it was injuries or red shirt, and really had to burn his own red shirt 1 year after King went out with an injury. So it's always been on somebody else's timetable. And now that he's been the starter, he had COVID interruptions last year, so he never really had that fair shake until this year. And then look what happens. Week 2, he suffers that hamstring injury, and that may have been the best thing that happened to him. And those have been Holgerson's words, because it's allowed Clayton Tune to become more of a pocket passer. He is no longer thinking. He would run through his reads and then take off and scramble, and that would set him up for potential injuries. But now he's back there. He's going through all his reads. His pass protection's been better, to where he's able to find the guys that he's looking for, and it's made him an overall better quarterback. He had 4 interceptions in that Tech game, and I believe he's only had 2 in the 7-game winning streak. So completely different quarterback. He can still run when he needs to. They prefer he doesn't. But for him to have the type of numbers and show the improvement is a huge sign for Houston going in here late into the season.
What were your thoughts when they kicked the ball to Marcus Jones the other night at the end of the game?
Are you crazy? I don't know any other way to put it. And, Sonny Dykes, he explained it after the game. And the plan wasn't to put Marcus Jones in that situation. They wanted to kick it away, and it just didn't happen that way. But, we've seen that, 2 straight weeks. He had two other back-to-back games earlier in the year where he had a similar situation with punts. But, you get to the point where you're watching either on the sideline or the press box in the stands, and every time he has an opportunity where he's a yard or two deep and he's going to get a chance to bring it out, you think it's going to the house. The way his coverage team and the blocking that they're doing has been great, but the way he sees the field, and he's got the ability to break out of a tackle when somebody does get a hand on him, and then he turns on that extra gear. You got to question, from now on. I would squib it. I would take the 15-yard penalty. I would do whatever I need to not put the ball in his hands, because you don't see it very often, and I don't know when we'll see it again. But this is a guy who's got 9 career returns for touchdowns. That ties an NCAA record, and he's one shy of matching the kickoff return career record. So this guy's going to be playing on Sundays next year. And by the way, he can play defense too, and a little offense. So he's the 5-tool 3-way player.
So, Joseph, a big story coming out of this weekend, Sunday, afternoon or so. Gary Patterson out at TCU is obviously a pretty big shock, although there were some feelings like that could happen sooner rather than later. But, just right now, it seems like sort of bizarre timing. And Dave Aranda was downright, emotional, talking about what Gary Patterson has meant to him as a coach. And I looked at Lincoln Riley's press conference, and he was kind of scratching his head over the situation. Same thing with Matt Campbell. I saw where you tweeted out a quote from Holgerson on Patterson, but I was wondering if you could give me just some more context and kind of the vibe in the room on how Holgerson felt about the big change in Fort Worth.
Well, a couple of years ago, the Houston Touchdown Club put together events during the summer, and Bob Stoops was already out of football, but he joined Dana Holgerson and Gary Patterson for a little coaches roundtable, and you could tell the friendship that those three had. And when you look at the coaching landscape here in Texas and some of the bordering states, a lot of these coaches were assistant coaches when Gary Patterson was starting his run and doing his thing at TCU, and they've all known Texas college football with Gary Patterson in it. Mack Brown has left since then, and you've seen other changes that have gone on at other schools, but the one consistent has been Gary Patterson. And Dana wasn't quite sure what to absorb of things after only a day at his Monday press conference, but certainly the magnitude of Patterson's effect on that program, and he also equated to the fact that West Virginia got into the Big 12 at the same time TCU, so there were some similarities. He talked about some of the wars that they had gone through, and then you look at it. He said, "Hey, the guy's going to be all right. He's got a statue of himself in TCU in Fort Worth." So, do I think this is the end for Gary Patterson? Absolutely not. He will coach again. He will have an opportunity to pick a spot probably, or at least a spot that fits where he wants to go at this point in his career. But there's a lot of head coaches that are emotional because they know what type of influence Gary Patterson's had, not just on TCU, but on their careers and where they are in their lives.
Obviously, not much can happen until the ink is dry on what happens with Texas and OU and other teams that might be coming into the Big 12. But what's the vibe been like since the last time we had you on the show when Houston was coming into the conference? Maybe they didn't talk about it that much, but do you feel kind of a different vibe about the future with Houston in the last few weeks?
I see a different vibe in the last few days. Now, immediately the day that the Big 12 announcement was made, Houston was sort of like, we got to be mindful and respectful that, we're still members of the American, and that, could be for another 2 years. Well, lo and behold, on Friday afternoon prior to the SMU game, there was crews outside of the Alumni Center, that the basically the headquarters of the athletic department, and they plastered these giant glass walls with the Houston and Big 12 logo, which sort of surprised me because Houston hadn't been that bold yet. They hadn't been that, okay, we're getting in, but we're not going to just flaunt it just yet. So they're flaunting it now. I don't know how that fits with the American, with everything going on, but the vibe is certainly moving forward. It is very much looking to the future, and little things like that that you would think are just cosmetic. They kind of jump out at you, and when you're driving on campus now and you see that glass, and this is a gigantic piece of glass out front, they're signaling that their future is not very far away.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, the best when it comes to covering the Houston Cougars, with us here on SicEm 365 Radio. Joseph, thanks for jumping on early and adhering to my accidental Lombardi time.
And don't give McClain 1 minute on the Baylor-Texas game. Just don't go there, because if he will, he's going to talk about how his Bears, gave it to the Longhorns and all that kind of stuff. But make him stick to the NFL or the World Series the World Series.
We'll do our best. We'll see what happens. Thanks, Joseph.
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it. All right, there we go. Joseph Duarte. John McClain will join us at 5:30, his normal time on Tuesday. And Craig, Houston, right now, save tripping up against one of those last four opponents, they're gonna meet Cincinnati more than likely in that conference championship game. We'll see what happens with Cincinnati and SMU, but I don't know how that affects who winds up in that game. But because
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, so I don't know the rules in the AAC tiebreakers and all that. So, but because Cincinnati and SMU is going to be I think it'd be a pretty darn good game. So we'll see what happens there, and that's a toss up, but. Yeah, they've got it going well on the way out. So Houston, they're making noise. We're looking at 11-win regular season, and they're a group of 5 teams, so it's not going to matter what happens if they have one, since they have one loss.
No,
yeah.
And they're
they
not
could
even
be 12-1 after the championship game, and it's going to be good for you. All right,
they could be undefeated, Paul, and they're not good enough to be in the playoff.
Yeah.
I've watched Houston enough. They're a good team, but they're not top 4 level.
Yeah.
They're not even close to it. So they're having a good season. They're in the mix, and we'll see what happens. But that was a nice win over the weekend, and that's good news for them that Dana Holgerson's got things on track, because a year or two ago it was a little bit of a rocky start. So now he's seeming to find his groove, and they got a big one this weekend that kind of changes the whole trajectory, because what could have been viewed as maybe a obvious loss or potential loss is instead a big win. And now they got to finish out. They don't play anybody tough, as you mentioned, the stretch run, but you still got to be ready and play a solid game, because that's when you slip up, is when you pull an Iowa State and you go put on a bad performance and somebody knocks you off that you're not expecting. So in the driver's seat, and we'll see what happens. But some good American games coming up here over these next few weeks.
JG on the chat room, by the way, I was pleasantly surprised how calm Dana was during the post-game on-field interview. I expected him to boast, and instead he basically talked about what Houston could have done better. So
I think he's calmed down a lot. Mm-hmm. I think he's everybody gets older, and when you get older, it's hard for young people to. I wish there was some way to let young people know that everything they're hearing and they roll their eyes, that actually is all true and is something they should listen to, but it never happens. Just generation after generation, young people think old people are dumb and whatever, but you do, for the young people listening, you do calm down quite a bit typically when you get older, and you think differently, and I think Dana's just matured, and he's been around and been through a lot of situations, and he probably realizes too, man, you better make this one work, because this is what you wanted. You left West Virginia for Houston. You wanted to be back in Texas or whatever else you wanted. Well, you got it, and so now you better make it work, and he's making it work, so good for him.
All right, we'll take a break right here. We'll come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. Then Drew Davison's talks TCU at 4 o'clock. This is SicEm 365 Radio.
Get an early start. The Black Friday sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Ram, the winner of the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The 1500 Lone Star cab offers style and dependability for any job. It's the Black Friday sales event going on now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
A sagging rear end. It's ugly, it's embarrassing, and it's a sign you haven't been taking care of things. Hey, it's Jay from Pickup Outfitters, and we know you've seen it. A truck pulling an RV, a boat, or a big trailer, and the back end of the truck is lower than the front. In the industry, we call it a floppy jalopy, a scooty booty, or most commonly, badonkadonk down. It's not just an eyesore. When a truck's rear end is sagging, it can be dangerous because it affects the handling of the truck and can make driving unsafe. But there is a fix to this unsafe and unsightly condition. Take your truck to Pickup Outfitters for a little rear end suspension upgrade like Super Springs, Sumo Springs, or even an airbag suspension kit. Your truck will be safer, handle better, and most importantly, it will look better. People will start noticing the improvement to your rear end right away. And isn't that what it's all about? Get your rear suspension upgrade from the pros at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or check us out on the web at createacommotion.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryant and at pioneerboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak. For those of you who are wondering where Smokey is today, he is at a Rolling Stones concert in Dallas. So, somebody in the chat room, Craig, said that he might get a contact high at the concert.
Oh, I'm sure of it, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If not a direct.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, he's getting old. You got to have your fun when you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's easily 86 years old. No, he's He's in his 60s.
Not close to that quite yet, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't judge. I'll just say that.
No. Hey, look, here's the deal. If you go to a Rolling Stones concert, you want the full experience.
Sure.
You don't go to a thing and go, no. I just want the, the walking tour. That's not what you want. You want the full immersive Rolling Stones experience. Let's go to the BetUS call line and Howard. Howard, thanks for your call.
Hey guys, I'm impressed that they let you two guys take the show over. It's kind of impressive. Hey, I want to mention something. I don't know. I might have screwed this up. I was listening to your show yesterday, and I was listening to Craig kind of rail about how they pick the teams for the playoffs. And I know things are political. I mean, that's just the way things are. But I was in Memphis Saturday, and I got to watch some of the Cincinnati Tulane game, and I don't usually get to watch some of that stuff because I'm on the West Coast. I live in Salem, Oregon. I went up and down the Mississippi, and Tulane had them on the ropes. Now, we're talking about the rankings of the number 2 team in the country, Cincinnati, and I'm sitting there in my room on a ship, and I'm thinking of teams that could whomp the heck out of them, like Michigan State, maybe Wake Forest. I haven't seen Wake Forest, but they're undefeated. Alabama and Oklahoma. And I'm thinking, like, how is this team out of the American Conference, Cincinnati? I know you guys are a little slanted towards them because they're moving into your conference next year or the year after. But Tulane had them on the ropes. And they finally came out and won that game at the end. It reminded me of the Oregon-Arizona game when Arizona was only down by 8 and going in the fourth quarter and Oregon won. But my question is like to Craig, I know things are political when it comes to the playoffs. I think the only way to beat that is to do it like they do in basketball, is just you need to expand it. That way, if there's upsets, like a team like Cincinnati that might go in there with a perfect record or maybe one loss, maybe they can upset somebody and win the national championship.
All right, Howard, yeah, we're up against it. I'm going to let Craig answer that question because we got to get to a guest in the next segment.
Yeah, it's not an exact comparison, but you know who else had Tulane had on the ropes? They had Oklahoma on the ropes. Now, granted, OU had like a 23-point lead that they blew, and so it wasn't the exact same unfolding of a game as it was with Cincinnati and Tulane. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, there are teams that are smaller, that are outside the big boy conferences, so to speak, that don't play the same type of a schedule. And I'm not for somebody, like, I don't want to see Liberty going unbeaten every year because they play some weak schedule and just feeling like they belong in the playoff as a result. But I do think going unbeaten should matter. Mm-hmm. Like, and I think it's fair to weigh, like, okay, what kind of an unbeaten is it? But I think in the case of Cincinnati, if they were to run the table, and they'll have to along the way, have played SMU at least once, and SMU is a quality team. They're not Bama, they're not Auburn, but what conference is? Like, I mean, maybe the Big Ten is stacked, more so this year than they have been in the past. The Big 12's got a 3-team race, but, why is Cincinnati playing games? What's the point? If you're not going to allow them an opportunity, then I don't see why we're even doing this thing. Like, let's just call it what it is and just boot them to the B League and boot Baylor and TCU and all those teams. And I'd say, I said this about, Houston when they were in the mix years ago, and they had no sniff of the Big 12 at the time, really. And I still felt that same way about them, about UCF, about every team. You need to look at their schedule and who they played. And, you look at, okay, how would they stack up against an Alabama or so-and-so. But, like, really, how many teams would you take over Alabama? Mm-hmm. Like, none other than Georgia probably. So, I mean, if we did the whole, well, who beat who, then why are we playing the games? Yeah. Like, let's just line up the 4 teams that the committee thinks are the best, which is what they're going to do ultimately. But, like, when I was growing up in college football, and I know things change, and that's fine. I am all about change and adapting to change. But the regular season meant something, and I know it still does, but not to as much of an extent because of the playoff. And it will be even further watered down with the expanded playoff, which I do think is one of the negatives. But we got to do something. It's either everybody has a chance or make it what you really truly want to make it, and it's an invite only, tournament with all of the biggest brands. It's one or the other.
because, you deserve some payoff if you go unbeaten, and especially if it wasn't just you playing directional school A, B, and C all year long. No, you're in the fifth, or you're in the sixth of, as far as the standings of conferences, you're conference number 6 basically. So I know what you mean, Howard, but we'll see how tonight goes and kind of where Cincinnati stands. I see the movement being made for them to get bumped, but all Cincinnati can do, and all that really matters right now, because, look, they lose this weekend, who cares? Like, the whole conversation is pointless. But all Cincinnati can do is just keep winning out. And then let's get to that point and see where we are. And if they get snubbed, let's see why and how and for what reason. But, yeah, they need to play better, no doubt about it. If they really want a shot and they want to leave no doubt, going undefeated is one way to do it, but going undefeated and doing it in convincing fashion is what they really need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with every single thing you just said and can add nothing to it, which is good because we've got a break for Drew Davison and to see our good buddy Lance Aldridge is here in the studio. We gotta say hello to him because he's come to visit. This Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf, they've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And now the short pitch to Smith, and Smith spins out of it. And Smith inside the 15, looking for the corner, and gets it. Touchdown, Bears. DeAndre Coburn whipped at the line of scrimmage, and Smith sped off for 32 yards and a score.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome back in Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, Armstrong, Jack, Hayden are here. Our buddy Lance Aldridge is here in studio. Great to see him. And we are joined now by Drew Davison from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Drew, you've had an interesting week. I mean, I think the writing was starting to get on the wall for Gary Patterson, maybe a change just based on everything's gone the last few years, but it got accelerated over the last couple of weeks. Were you shocked at how fast that happened?
Oh, absolutely, Paul. I mean, when Texas Tech fired Matt Wells, I guess, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, that's when I, got the first kind of hint that, hey, TCU might be willing to part ways with Gary. Emphasis on might. I certainly never thought it would be during the season. I thought it would come after the season. So, yeah, certainly, it was interesting how quickly it happened. But, I think it probably, started, with the Oklahoma game. You just, obviously they got off to a slow start losing to SMU and Texas, and then, Oklahoma, smoked them pretty good, and you could just tell the gap between the top of the league, OU, and TCU had grown pretty significant, and then just a couple disappointing games against West Virginia and last week at K-State. But again, I never thought Gary Patterson would have a mid-season departure.
So Jeremiah Donati was speaking just a little while ago, I believe, Drew, and commenting on the search that will now get underway, and he also denied one of the rumors, I guess, that was surrounding, kind of how everything unfolded. What was his kind of perspective on, the offer they apparently made for him to finish out the season, him turning that down, and that whole part of the story? Where was Donati on how that unfolded?
Yeah, well, so the thing he really wanted to clarify was there was no ultimatum for Gary Patterson. Once the decision had been made, it wasn't like they went to Gary and said, hey, if you fire this coach or if you do this, X, Y, Z, you'll be back. The decision had kind of been made that, hey, it's time to move on. As painful and tough as it is, we've had a great run, but time, to kind of bring in someone else to run the program. And, they obviously hoped that Gary would stick around and, kind of have a farewell send-off, so to speak. But, as you all know, just, being in the Big 12 and whatnot, Gary Patterson's not the most sentimental guy. I thought that, that plan probably had low probability of success of convincing Gary to stick around as a lame duck coach, and ultimately, he decided to move on. Which, once someone doesn't want you, I understand his thought process there.
Yeah, I could not foresee him waxing on about what a great last 4 weeks this has been to be with the guy. It's just not his style at all. I couldn't have seen that. Drew, how much of the I don't want to say, like, there's kind of maybe added antics from Gary this year. There's always been something where he, goes off on a tangent about this or that, or he kind of gets one thing in his sights, and that's kind of a repeated theme. But this year it was just kind of everything. Every time there was something, there was kind of something. How much of that was Gary feeling the pressure for the first time in a long time at TCU?
Yeah, I think so. And like some of the rants that, were just head scratching, like, going after the TCU alum who, had less than 100 followers on his website, and things like that, and the SMU, just kind of really ripping them for the flag planting and whatnot. I mean, when you're winning 10, 11 games, I think, those are obviously like met more with an eye roll or whatnot. But, I think some of those, as I was talking to someone, they kind of mentioned those are just like added unnecessary data points that Gary kind of just kept putting on. The West Virginia loss is another data point, but some of those rants during the press conferences were just other things that just kind of added to the list. But at the end of the day, I mean, it came down to wins and losses, and since 2018, TCU is the game under 500, and they just felt it was time to find a new voice, so to speak.
So, Drew, where are we with Zach Evans? I know there's been like various reports about whether his locker was cleaned out at one point, and obviously there's a lot of curiosity from outsiders when they saw he wasn't playing last Saturday, although that was due to injury. But, obviously he's going to be a name that people start to debate about, and I'm sure there will be others. Can you get any kind of a sense yet on sort of where the TCU players are mindset-wise with the changeover to now Jerry Kill?
Yeah, I mean, they say Jerry Kill is or Jerry Kill, has, from what he talked today, has good buy-in and whatnot. But I think, Jeremiah Donati acknowledged it, and Jerry Kill kind of did too. They're trying to play for the players. It's kind of like, hey, let's rally and win one for Coach P and whatnot. But the reality is, with any coaching change, recruits are probably going to reopen the recruitments, and players are probably going to, explore the, what's out there in the transfer portal and whatnot. And so, yeah, I mean, I think obviously all the stars, Max Duggan, Zach Evans, Quentin Johnston, you name it, all those guys, I'm sure, are kind of intrigued to see where this coaching search goes. And it wouldn't be a surprise if any of them hit the portal.
Drew, I know that did he leave a game plan? Is that maybe a fair way to put it for his coaches, or discuss it? You wrote about that today, that there's not many schools that get his goat like Baylor does, and that he enjoys beating, especially maybe when they're a little bit higher ranked than his team is and ruining their season. What was it? He'd leave him a game plan and kind of go over it. What was that happened this week with Gary before he left and turned things over to Jerry Kill?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things. There's kind of multiple layers to it, right, Paul? I mean, number one, I think it kind of, shuts down the narrative that he, quote unquote, quit on the team with 4 games left. I mean, he still cares about his guys. He wants them to have success. The reason he walked away was the administration didn't want him after the season, right? It wasn't about the team or his assistants by any stretch. So, it kind of sent that message in my mind, and it also, his fingerprints are still all over this program and this team, and he wants his guys to be successful, and he doesn't want Baylor to go, win 65-14 or whatever. He's hoping, that they're competitive, and it's a reflection on, kind of the guy, his staff, and the players he brought in. So, he had kind of already started on the game plan against Baylor, and met with some of his assistants to kind of go over, what he was going to implement and think and install for this week. So, but I also think it just, he's a ball coach, and that's what ball coaches do, right?
Yeah, it is. Drew, I saw where Donati also mentioned, they've hired a search firm now, and
even made the comment in regards to the next head coach of potentially leaning offensively minded because of the fact that they've been defensively minded for so long, which makes some sense. I mean, that's kind of what Baylor did as well, going from the Briles era to the Rule and now Aranda eras of defense. But obviously Sonny Dykes and names like that are out there, but focusing in and looking at this search, I mean, who are the names that stick out to you, and maybe some that nobody's even talking about just yet?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of working on a story now. Kind of the three main takeaways that you hit, or the 3 bullet points TCU is kind of looking for is, one, a current head coach. I mean, they feel – so I would think that the Joey McGuires and don't blank on Mike Elko at A&M. I think the coordinators, assistants, are probably not their top targets. They're looking at current head coaches like a Sonny Dykes or Louisiana's Billy Napier, or maybe they engage with Jeff Traylor down at UTSA, even though he just signed a big deal. So a current head coach, like you said, offensive minded, just because it's so tough to follow in Gary Patterson's defensive footsteps. And then thirdly, I think TCU is a pretty attractive job, especially given its location and how much resources they're willing to put into the coaching staff.
How much of the NIL transfer portal thing was, I mean, I know that the TCU got some transfers. That certainly, I mean, Chandler Morris is a transfer, but how much of that was also that, Gary Patterson, 61, he's a very old school coach when it comes to those things. And that was something that was going to take him a little more time to completely wrap his arms around, not only just functionally, but accepting it as a reality in college football.
Yeah. I think it's just a kind of a combination of things. That most importantly with Gary, he contrary to, some popular belief, and I know he went on some rants, but he had kind of evolved and come around on the transfer portal. They brought in a couple kids from Memphis, their left tackle, and a safety named TJ Carter, to try and fill some gaps on this year's team. Obviously, has worked out to varying degrees of success and things like that. But yeah, I think kind of the way the football is going, you do need someone, now, Gary, may be successful if he coaches again. That'd certainly be probably the betting favorite for him to find some success. But yeah, I think they kind of wanted someone who really embraced the NIL era, who embraced the transfer portal and whatnot, in terms of, hey, this is where college football is heading. And it's very hard for, the developmental coaches like Gary Patterson are probably going to face a tougher time just because schools can come and poach the guys you've spent 2-3 years developing.
Drew, no, you got to run, but a final thing for you. There's an actual game this weekend in Fort Worth. Baylor and
Is there?
Yes, imagine that. Baylor and TCU. I mean, we know the deal here. Baylor is going to be favored, and they should be. Jerry Kill is interim. I mean, what are you expecting from the fans? I know it's kind of hit or miss as far as attendance goes anyways, but, especially in light of the news this week. And what are you expecting TCU to maybe show or do as far as this weekend goes?
Well, I certainly wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of green in the stadium. But no, I think, TCU fans, the diehards, the real avid fans are still going to come and support the team and hope the Frogs pull an upset. And, Jerry Kill and Jeremiah Zimnati all said the right things about the guys staying bought in and whatnot. But I think, that's obviously easier said than done. And when you face a team like Baylor, who still has the shot to win a Big 12 championship and whatnot, they're obviously probably going to be a little bit more motivated. But with that being said, TCU's got guys who hope playing on Sundays, and film is film, and this is another opportunity to put some film out there in a positive way. So I think the effort should be there, so to speak, but we'll see kind of how it all goes. Max Duggan is very questionable to start at quarterback. So it looks like it could be Chandler Morris, but Jerry Kill said, today and tomorrow will kind of dictate that in seeing how much Mack can do.
Drew Davison, 4-4 Star Telegram. Drew, thanks for hopping on with us. Enjoy that daycare pickup you got coming up here in a second.
All right. Can't beat it. Thanks, guys.
All right, buddy. Yeah, I asked him for 5 o'clock. He's like, yeah, I've got a daycare pickup, man. I can't do it.
You got to do what you got to do. I mean, no, it's interesting, and he's right. The Max Duggan things, that's big. If Chandler Morris does have to start, but very curious about Zach Evans and what he does, but they do have Kendry Miller, who's still a very good back. So either you're going to see both of them or they're going to see Miller. Either way, they still got to prepare for a good running back. And Quentin Johnston's a heck of a receiver, man. He really is, just from down the road, and a guy that Baylor probably wishes they had, although their receivers are pretty good. But, I mean, he's 30 minutes away from you, know, and they tried. He picked TCU, but he's very good. And, you look at what Xavier Worthy did last week, and Johnston's not the exact same type of receiver, but he can hit you and hurt you deep and make some big catches. So, yeah, it'll be a challenge. I mean, I think you got to deal with the wild card of a team that's, basically been backed into a corner and is a little bit desperate and hungry right now as a result of all this, commotion in their world. So that's either going to turn into getting blown out in like historic fashion, which we've seen when a team is kind of at their wits' end before. We've seen that here before. Or are they going to be, a team that's rabid and ready to go and ready to fight? I would be getting ready for a fight if I were Baylor, just in case, because they do have players that can make you hurt, and I'm sure Jerry Keel's not going to just waltz into that chair and, think anything less than we better put on one hell of a performance this weekend. So Baylor needs to gear up for sure.
Absolutely do. When we come back, Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhodes. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line. When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhodes is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhodes joins us in his weekly segment. And Mack, I'm just going to tell you, Smokey is skipping out on the show today because he's going to see the Rolling Stones in Dallas. So,
I'm not going to say anything, but other than, he grew up with the Rolling Stones.
Yes, very much so.
Do you have a bucket list concert that you'd like to go see in the very few moments that you get away from athletic directing?
Yeah, my favorite group and still is, and I've been able to see them, a couple times are the Eagles. I'd love to see Bruce Springsteen. I've never had the opportunity to see him. So that would be one that comes to mind.
So, Mack, big win over Texas this past weekend. Had to come from behind. A very good game between both teams. I'm a big fan of Steve Sarkisian whenever I've listened to him talking and been around him. Good fight from Texas, but a better fight from your guys. What were your thoughts on, now moving on and finishing that homestand 4-0 over the last 5 weeks, being right in the thick of the Big 12 race?
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really good test for us, and again, I think Steve Sarkisian is a really good football coach and a great hire by UT, and but I guess I was most happy about our team's resiliency, and we didn't necessarily play our best game the first half, and some of it was because of the opponent, but I thought, a lot of it was just self-inflicted. And, we didn't let that carry into the second half. Went into the locker room. I think our staff and our young men did a great job of making some adjustments, but even, more than just adjustments, just, mentally, coming out with a different mindset. And maybe not as cautious and just playing at full speed. So was so I was really, really happy for them and certainly Coach Aranda. And again, I think that's a really talented UT team that we were able to beat and come from behind. And now it sets us up for another rival game. At TCU. Obviously. With the news coming out of Fort Worth, there's probably uncertainty as to what to expect. But I know Coach Aranda will do his best to get our team prepared.
How much of that you talked about the team not overreacting to things and adjusting well is the old cliche of teams taking on the personality of their head coach? That sequence at the end of the half for a team that was immature could have been disastrous after you throw an interception and spot them the ball with not a lot of time and a great opportunity to score late in the half. I mean, it could have been really messy. And what did Baylor do? Just kind of, all right, let's go get an interception. Let's go make a play. And that's what they did. Is that them taking on Coach Aranda's, even-keeled to infinity degree personality that he has?
Yeah, no, Paul, I really think it is. And I've been doing this long enough to where, I do think there's truth behind, even though it's a cliche, but I think there is real truth behind, a team, culture, attitude takes on the head coach's personality. And so I think that's a big part of it. This idea of just keep pounding the rock. Don't worry. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be, downs within a football game. And, usually the team that wins, is the team that doesn't allow those downs to continue, those lows to continue or continue for an extended period of time. They're able to just keep pounding and moving forward. So, very much, who Coach Aranda is.
Mack, I'm sure you don't want to talk too specifically about other schools and what they're doing, but just in general, over the last 24, 48 hours, I mean, Dave Aranda was downright emotional talking about what Gary Patterson has meant to him as a football coach. Lincoln Riley was clearly, kind of peeved at the idea of Patterson leaving midseason. I was listening to Matt Campbell. He was kind of hurt by the news. I know it's a business, and I know why TCU and Texas Tech and others are trying to get ahead of the curve as far as candidates and the early signing day and all that. But what do you make of a coach like that in today's landscape? Just being out in the middle of a season, regardless of whether it was his decision or what have you.
Yeah, it's a tough conversation to have, quite frankly. I've got great respect for Coach Patterson and what he's meant to college football and certainly to TCU as well as Coach Wells at Texas Tech. And I also have great respect for, my counterparts, both Kirby and Jeremiah and those decisions are hard. And, we have entered into this period of time and we've been in it for, probably the last five, 6 years, right? Just this enormous pressure to win and consistently win all the time and win immediately. And you think of some of the great coaches, football, basketball, years ago that didn't exist. And some of those great coaches, if we were present time, wouldn't be coaching anymore. And it's crazy to think about that. We're just in this different time, different place. I don't know if it's because of, everything is seen, everything is on television. I don't know if it's because of social media, but there's just this great pressure and demand to win immediately, win all the time. There's no grace anymore for an off year, and it's just hard. There's never been, I don't think, a harder, tougher time to be a head coach. And for my colleagues at TCU and Texas Tech, man, they're receiving a bunch of pressure from external, sources and forces. And so, not easy to be in their chair and make those decisions. And right. So it's just, it's a difficult time. And, we talk as athletic directors, I'm not going to say a lot, but we certainly certainly talk about it.
Is part of this firing coaches early trend that occasionally it would happen? I mean, you'd see it was almost one-off incidents. Like, this is just so bad. There's a personality conflict, a new athletic director, old grizzled coach or something like that happens, and those were things. But is this maybe a function of there's an earlier signing period now, which is really the real signing day, because it's when most schools want to get their guys locked up in December, and schools feel the pressure to get ahead of that curve, that maybe coaches are getting fired earlier than they normally would have.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely, Paul. I think that's part of it. And let's go back to December of 2016 when we hired Matt Rhule, right? The early signing period hadn't begun. And so he had some time to put together a really, really good first signing class. Let's just think about how different it may have been, if the early signing period existed then. Is Jalen Petrie, is he here, right? Yeah. When you about that or some others. And so that absolutely is a piece of it. And then I think the other piece of it is, when you have a job or jobs open that or one job open, and within a certain region. And so now you've got schools where, hypothetically they're going to be talking to the same candidates. And so, trying to not let one get an edge over the other, and that's real, and so that's part of it as well.
Mack, the college football playoff show, it's beginning its run, and there's already a lot of talk about future Big 12 team Cincinnati. They're unbeaten. They're sitting there at number 2, but you can already start to see kind of the arguments being made of why they're not quite deserving just yet and whatnot. How much attention do you pay to the playoff rankings? Whether or not Baylor's involved, and what are your thoughts as the conversation continues to churn about the expanded playoff and where this thing might be headed in the next few years?
Yeah, so to answer the first part of the question, I really don't pay attention to it at all. And I'm a college football fan, but I to get on that roller coaster and the last poll prior to the bowl season is the one that I pay attention to, and so that's the one that I'm locked into, and then I think that the continued conversation of 4, 8, or 12, I don't know, and I'm not the first person to say this, that this has been out there for months and months, but I don't know, what's the real advantage of going to 8? If we're not going to 12, then probably we need to stay at the 4. The 12, obviously it's being looked at extremely close right now. That's the model where there's additional revenue. That's certainly something that I'm keeping my eye on. That I think that's important for the Big 12. I think it's important for some of the other Power 5 conferences. But at the same time, trying to balance, the number of games and student athlete health and safety, which has to be, primary, and become before anything else. And so, I'm monitoring it, and we'll be interesting to see where we land on it.
Mack, I know it's still 10 days away from the open. The men's basketball season, the women's basketball team has started their exhibition, but have you ever had more anticipation for the first night of a basketball season than you do maybe for November 12th, racing that banner?
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. The national championship banner reveal, and looking forward to that. Right now, preseason AP, number 8, and excited for them. I'm excited for November 12th. And, and then, you mentioned women's basketball already starting their season, with versus Texas A&M Commerce right now, again, ranked 7th, and, happy for Coach Collin to get her first win, just one of many, many more to come. And so, again, you think about Paul and Craig, just how blessed we are. 3 sport programs. When you think about football, men's basketball, women's basketball, one ranked 14th, one ranked 8th, one ranked 7th. We're just, we're really, really fortunate and blessed to have great coaches, great student athletes, and great fans.
Well, speaking of those fans, Mac, I thought it was a pretty nice atmosphere on Saturday at McLean Stadium. Just a lot of energy and a lot of waves of emotion, a roller coaster, so to speak. You just got done with a 1-month stint at home in McLean Stadium. We've talked to you before about some of the tweaks and things y'all made, but how did you feel the home run win at McLean, having those 4 games in a row?
Yeah, I thought it went well, and Javon's been on your show, and I've certainly talked about it, but there's room for growth, and there still is, and we're still working through their students, we're still working through tailgating. I think all of those things are, again, I'm not going to sit here and profess that they're perfect, but I think they're all work in progress. Whether concessions, music, all of those things. We spend a lot of time, Giovanna and her staff spends a lot of time on. And so we're going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to listen. We're going to continue to get better. And we'll look forward to the remaining home games.
Mac, enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy your trip to Fort Worth on Saturday.
Will do. Appreciate you both.
All right, thanks. It's Mack Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us pretty much every week at this time. Last week we had Marcus Sedberry in his place. That was a great talk. We had Javon Overshown in his place a couple weeks, or actually the day after. So always getting the insight. And I do think they're ever going to be morphing that game experience thing. This is I'll tell you, just to put Baylor fans at ease, and I know that if you can read our message board about it, there are tons of complaints, some well-founded and some that are just cranky people kind of things. But
some people cannot wrap their heads around the idea that the events they attend are not perfectly suited and directed and personalized for them.
There's not. It doesn't say "Welcome Tom" on the.
Yeah, sorry, they don't have your favorite food at concessions and your favorite music over the speakers and your at some point, just take in the atmosphere. You're there for a game, after all, not for all of the excess, or at least most people are.
What I love about what Mac and his staff do is it's a constant experiment of let's see what works.
I wasn't asking him about it for anything negative. It's just I wonder how it went.
Great.
You got 4 home games in 5 weeks, and how do you feel like that went? And I agree with him. I think there's some things they could probably still tweak. I think they need to figure out the student section as far as the Baylor line, not filling up their a number of seats. I think you probably could have fit another 200 fans in there on Saturday, but instead it was just seats because not as many students showed up. So I think there's things like that to look towards, but I'm sure they'll have no problem filling anything if they win this weekend and Oklahoma comes to town in 2 weeks with potentially a game day, type of setting, and certainly regardless of if game day showed up or not, that would be a massive contest between Baylor and Oklahoma. That would be a borderline top 10 game, and certainly a game where the winner probably goes on to play for a Big 12 title. I would think that atmosphere will be the best all season, but they got to win in Fort Worth first.
Yeah, they absolutely do. When we come back, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Choose your inbound vehicle, get on the list, and get your car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to choose your inbound vehicle today. Go to richardcarr.com for details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman, with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent, but you yourself represent your own business, what you do with customers. What separates you think, from everyone else?
I'll educate, let them buy. I'll sit down, go over all the coverages with them, go over everything, make sure they understand it. In case they need to use it, they know what they have, fill in any holes that they may have, or take any excess away that they may not need.
Your personality, who you are to customers, some people have different personalities. How would you describe yourself?
My dad was a coach and teacher. My mom was a teacher, for a few decades each. And again, I teach, educate, let them buy. And, there's no dumb questions. My dad always said.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Time for a little Off the Radar, which is taking a look at some of the stories around the rest of the world of sports outside of college football. Although, still stories from college football, as I'll get to in just a moment. But the main ones that we don't quite spend a lot of time on, or the Dallas Cowboys. Typically refrain from mentioning them too much in this segment. But we will start off with some college football. One thing that TCU's athletic director Jeremiah Donati mentioned in regards to the Gary Patterson search for his replacement, I should say, is LaDainian Tomlinson will be on the committee that helps find the new TCU head football coach. He said, I can't wait to hear their thoughts and their ideas that they have. He was talking about Obviously, Ladanian, the TCU legend, a Central Texas legend, grew up here in Waco, but also Joe Briggs will be a part of the committee, search committee as well. So I'm very curious to see what they do, man. There's the Sonny Dykes option, and there's the Jeff Traylor option, I guess, still, if they feel like they could maybe convince him, as sure as he sounds as he's going to be staying in San Antonio. But, once you get past that, I really am intrigued by, do they stick to the whole, like you would rather have a head coach? Because then that would eliminate a Joey McGuire or even a Jeff Grimes or, any other number of guys you want to mention. But I said in my article today on the website that Baylor fans just better get used to the idea that everyone, including their head coach, is going to be in the rumor mill for this offseason and probably for many off seasons beyond, because you'd love to keep them all together. But, between McGuire and Grimes and Aranda, alone, there's going to be a lot of outside interest. So very curious the direction that TCU goes. But LT will be on that Board of Trustees committee that will be looking for the new head coach. Another college football note today, Clay Helton already has a new job. Did you know that?
I did.
Georgia Southern hires Clay Helton to be their new head coach, and obviously he comes over from USC where he was fired just a few weeks back, and you saw the writing on the wall there. USC now is one of the more intriguing schools as far as what direction they're going to go, but Georgia Southern goes the direction of Clay Helton, and I saw some comments of like, oh, hey, obviously a name some people recognize, but saw a lot of other like, well, that's uninspired comments as well.
If you're Georgia Southern, you get the guy who's at USC. No matter how well he did, I think that's a I don't know if it's a home run hire for Georgia Southern. I don't know what they expect. They had a big win over Florida a couple years ago, if people remember. But I think that's good. I think that's good. I think Clay Helton will do well there. I think Clay Helton's problem is that I don't want to say he's too nice a guy, but he was too nice a guy for L.A. He wasn't Hollywood enough for L.A. I think he'll do fine at Georgia Southern. I think there's many places where Clay Helton will be a very effective head coach. I don't know if Clay Helton was a guy who was ever going to win national championships, but very few people are. That doesn't mean that they're not good head coaches for your program.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think being at a smaller school probably will be better for him. He's replacing Chad Lunsford. Lunsford was fired back on September 26th. As they had gotten off to a 1-3 start. The deal's for 5 seasons, nearly $800,000 per year. Pete Thamel had that part of the report, and he's going to get started right away, basically get into recruiting and start putting his staff together. So good for Clay Helton that he is now back in the mix. And what's interesting about this is he's going to be in the Sun Belt, but there's so much chaos going on in conference realignment, and the Sun Belt looks like they're actually going to be one of the ones that makes it out okay, but it has led to obviously Conference USA being in a bit of a pickle, and there are the reports swirling out there that they're going to be grabbing some new members, and Liberty, a part of that mix, New Mexico State, a part of that mix, Jacksonville State, and Sam Houston State reported yesterday by the Action Network that they were all likely to be joining Conference USA as all sports members. And
Sam Houston State was just about to join a new conference, weren't they?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Conference USA is looking to add 4 new members. So it's interesting that Sam Houston State will be bumping up a level, and I suppose Liberty no longer independent. Go down the line of what this means for all of those teams, but they're trying, man, and apparently they are still on the search for one more because you don't want to have an odd number of teams. So they've lost 11 of the 14 members, so you'd have 3 remaining teams. You add these 4, and they will be on the lookout for an 8th, and I don't know. There may have been already some discussion on who that might be. I have not dug that far into it, but apparently Conference USA is looking for one more to give it a nice round number. But what do you think of that new conference? I've seen a lot of people who seem to think that Liberty is going to become like the Alabama of the non-Power Fives.
They have resources.
That's why.
They have resources.
Yeah. And they'll hire Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
Why the hell not?
When Hugh Freeze leaves and goes, and he, used car salesman's his way into another job, then I know that's
they'll
harsh,
go hire another big name tarnished coach.
Go do it,
everybody expected them to hire Art Briles, and they didn't. They hired Hugh Freeze instead. So they don't care. They'll hire anybody. And I'm not saying that those guys are unhireable even, but it's just for what other schools may hesitate at. they will full bore go into and not care one iota. So, they will always have a head coach that is going to be, a named guy, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think they will be. And if you're talking about an 8-team league, it's not going to be that hard to win it for anybody if they get really good for a good stretch, especially teams that, are moving up. And I'll tell you this, though, Sam Houston State's been good for a long time, so it wouldn't surprise me to see them be successful in that league relatively quickly. Yeah. And they live in the transfer portal as it is, so that just means there might be some bigger fish in that transfer portal they can grab.
Yeah, potentially. So we'll see as that shakes out and all the ink dries on who's going to be where. But it looks like Conference USA has been able to replenish and also maybe looking for another team. So we'll see how that goes. Nothing to report on, any other expansion really going on at this point. It's kind of settled down as these the Sun Belts and the Conference USAs of the world are like just having to react to what happened above them in the Big 12 and with the SEC. And then once they get settled in, it might be time for the Big 12 to announce its intentions one way or the other on whether they're going to go with a Wave 2, as we've talked about at length, or if they're going to, potentially stay pat, although I lean more towards a Wave 2 at this point in time, just based on everything that we've been hearing. All right, elsewhere, Scottie Pippen's upset about The Last Dance. That came out a while ago, but Scottie Pippen was in the news today, and he was mad at Michael Jordan. He was talking about the documentary, and this was an excerpt from his book that's going to be coming out. The book is called Unguarded, and it's a memoir. And in the book, there's a passage in which he talks about the Last Dance documentary. And here's the excerpt. The final 2 episodes, and this is via GQ, I guess, is previewing the book. The final 2 episodes aired on May 17. Similar to the previous 8, they glorified Michael Jordan while not giving nearly enough praise to me and my proud teammates. Michael deserved a large portion of the blame. The producers had granted him editorial control of the final product. The doc couldn't have been released otherwise. He was the leading man and the director. Except Michael was determined to prove to the current generation of fans that he was larger than life during his day and still larger than LeBron James, the player many consider his equal, if not superior. Even in the second episode, which focused for a while on my difficult upbringing and unlikely path to the NBA, the narrative returned to MJ and his determination to win. I was nothing more than a prop. His best teammate of all time, he called me. He couldn't have been more condescending if he tried. Each episode was the same. Michael on a pedestal, his teammates secondary, smaller, the message no different from when he referred to us back then as his supporting cast. From one season to the next, we received little or no credit whenever we won, but the bulk of criticism when we lost. Michael could shoot 6 of 24 from the field, commit 5 turnovers, and he was still in the minds of the adoring press and public, the errorless Jordan. Now here I was in my mid-50s, 17 years since my final game, watching us being demeaned once again. Living through it the first time was insulting enough. So, juicy book excerpt from Scottie Pippen and a little unhappiness with Michael Jordan and the portrayal of the Bulls in the Last Dance documentary.
Yeah, he was not portrayed well in those last couple episodes because of his holdout.
Yes.
And I can see that if you were one of Michael Jordan's old teammates, you would not like that because, but the last Dance was Michael Jordan's perspective on things. Mm-hmm. And from Michael Jordan's perspective, he was pissed off that Scottie Pippen was holding out as long as he did. Mm-hmm. And in that last run, the Bulls were, that whole season until he got back, they were losing games that they normally would have won. And what Michael was, I think I took from it was it showed how important Scottie was to the overall thing. Mm-hmm. And Michael thought Scottie was being selfish because Michael was under the gun too, because Jerry Krause had pretty much said he was blowing the thing up, which to this day, no one will understand.
Right.
No one will understand why they did that or why they wanted to push it to that point and not just, I get there's money and all those things, but Jerry Krause had kind of decided he was, looking long-term and this wasn't sustainable and he was going to, blow it up for financial reasons. And so they were all under it. And I don't think Michael cares what Scottie thinks. That's clear.
No, he doesn't care what anybody thinks.
Yeah, so
blank them kids. You know the meme.
Yeah. I also tell you this. I don't know if Michael Jordan was really friends with too many people in the sense of you can be friends with Michael Jordan. Yeah, I think Michael Jordan has about 4 friends.
Barkley.
And even him, they've had
falling outs, but I mean, he's one of a kind, man. And one thing that you can give, I think this is more emotions than anything else. But Scottie did make mention that Michael Jordan received $10 million to appear in the documentary. How much do you think everybody else earned? Nada.
Yeah.
He got $10 million, but hey, he's Michael. You can't do the documentary without Michael Jordan.
No.
Like, you just can't. I mean, you can't talk about those Bulls teams without talking about Michael Jordan. That was the man. And Pippen did also say Michael was bigger than the game. Even my initial arrival to Chicago, he's a big, iconic figure for the NBA. So we never really had that off-the-court relationship. So to your point, Michael and Scottie weren't even much of friends off the court. But given his personality, that's not that surprising. All right, tonight got a few college football games that are going on, but we also got the World Series, Game 6. Braves leading the series 3-2. Houston got the big win in game number 5. And tonight we're back in Houston. And how are you viewing this contest coming up? What do you think, Braves and Astros?
I actually think the Braves win it tonight. I don't like Luis Garcia on short rest. But, I mean, I was talking to our friend Chris Allman, a huge Astros fan, yesterday, and I am not.
He's dead to me, by the way.
Wrestling,
just in general, yeah. Mostly that, though.
Yeah, but so Chris Allman, I was talking to him yesterday, and he said, as an Astros fan, it's nerve wracking, and he asked me what my prediction was. I said, of all the predictions I've ever made in my sports talk radio career, and I'm not a big prediction on this is exactly how it's going to go. I have maybe 5 and 15, 16 years of doing this that really laid out. But this series has gone exactly as I thought it was. It's been weird. There's no starting pitching depth. So there is no stopper in this series at all that you can go, okay, this guy's going to pitch and he's going to be absolutely nails. And he's just not, because there's, Verlander for the Astros has been out all year. Lance McCullers, their best pitchers all year. He's out for the series. Charlie Morton got hurt in game 1.
Man, that was crazy.
Yeah, and so there's all these things that have happened. There's nobody that you look to, and usually in a World Series, what you try to avoid or try to beat, if you can win a game when the team's ace plays. Like when the Astros beat Clayton Kershaw, we know how they did it, but just on the surface, you can beat Clayton Kershaw. Then you've got that's something. When the Braves beat Max Scherzer, I mean, that's a huge deal. When you get over on the ace, well, there's no aces, so it's just now this smorgasbord of pitchers trying to get outs. And Luis Garcia on short rest, I don't like. I think the Braves take it tonight, although back in Houston, stuff's probably going to continue to get weird, and I kind of do hope we see a 7th game.
Yep, so tonight it'll be game number 6. Atlanta again leads that series 3-2. Game's on Fox, and it'll start just after 7 o'clock Central Time. Do you want me to wrap up here? Okay. How about this? Kobe Bryant, his late widow Vanessa has been in the news a lot just with the settlements and things that they're kind of working through with LA County, and the big story about how apparently some of those emergency workers were taking picture of dead bodies after the helicopter crash, and she sued, and there's been that whole to do as well. But another story coming out of the Kobe Bryant estate. He was one of the first big athletes to chip in an investment on body armor. Do you drink body armor? You're more of a Gatorade guy?
I'm actually now a vitamin water guy. Okay. Vitamin water, 0 sugar. That's my jam. By the way, vitamin water, 0 sugar. If you see this, hit your boy up.
Body water. I will definitely be a spokesperson for you. I like body armor. It's good stuff. But back in 2014, he purchased a 10% stake in the company for $6 million. Well, now, what happens with these drink brands? The bigger drink brands come and buy them. And who is that usually? It's Pepsi or it's Coke. And in the case of Body Armor, Coca-Cola has decided to purchase the Body Armor brand, valuation of $8 billion. So as a result of Kobe Bryant's 2014 10%, $6 million investment in the Body Armor brand, as a result of their valuation, his estate will receive $400 million. So he flipped $6 million into $400 million, and the estates can, obviously they'd rather have the alternative of having Kobe around, but they're taken care of. They already were, but I mean, golly, $400 million off that one investment alone. That's one investment he made. You can only imagine all the others as well.
Yeah, good on the Bryant family. Good for them. I mean, again, they weren't struggling anyway, and I hope Vanessa Bryant does some good things with that money because she seems to have had kind of taken up that mission.
Yeah, and I just think it's cool to see that brand grew like that. I mean, that you make that small.
It's good. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. You make that smaller investment, even though $6 million obviously isn't small, and you turn that into $400 million. That is pretty good stuff.
Well, here's the deal. We're talking to the same. I said Vitamin Water Zero, which was Vitamin Water, which used to be 50 Cent had and he made a bunch of money off that. You said Body Armor. They're both owned now by Coca-Cola.
Oh, good.
So, and listen, Craig's favorite beverage is Diet Coke. So Coca-Cola.
I've been to Atlanta.
Yeah, we've
sponsored the show.
I've been to the museum.
I haven't just been to Atlanta. I've been to real ass Atlanta.
Yeah.
We stayed there for days and made it out.
Yeah.
Just fine.
Again, we're big fans of the ATL. You just heard me saying I think the Braves are going to win. Come on, Coke.
We spent nights in Bankhead.
Yeah,
I mean we did, and we did just fine. Even though I definitely saw that neighborhood in the first 48, like 3 days after I got back.
Listen, Coke, I understand that your next pitchman or person is going to be like a pop star, like Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift or someone like that. I get that that's what you want, but I'm telling you right now, you have no more loyal brand ambassadors than the three people that sit here.
Yeah, for sure.
Than we would be for Coca-Cola.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, I'll wrap it up with this. We got the World Series going on tonight, but there also are some college football games. There is a trio of games, matter of fact. Unfortunately, they're not back-to-back-to-back. They're all starting about the same time, but kicking off first at 6 p.m. Central Time will be Ball State and Akron. Then at 6:30, got Miami of Ohio and Ohio. And that's Ohio, man, 1-7. That's not going to be a great game probably. And then at 6:30, Eastern Michigan and Toledo. So we got some action on a Tuesday night, the way that it should be, and a trio of games. And the World Series and, NBA and all sorts of other stuff as well. So there's a few stories that are off the radar.
All right, that's Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. If you missed any part of the segment, it'll be clipped and put up online by the one and only Hayden Bumpus here shortly. And Hayden, if you would, please tag Coca-Cola and anything you tweet out on this. Please, tell them that we are absolutely, we're ready. And here's the thing. The money you're spending other places, we can give
we'll take way less.
Deep discount.
Yeah,
deep
way
discount.
Less.
Look, you could get at us for a little bit of cash and a whole lot of product that you're already making anyway. I'm just saying it's a good deal. It's a good deal. Ask our many loyal listeners that we could, so anyway. But anyhow, I digress of begging Coke to give us money and free products. We've got a big 5 o'clock hour. John McClain, we'll try to get him not to at Joseph Duarte's request to talk about Baylor and Texas, but I just don't think that's going to happen. And
probably not.
Yeah, and we'll just, the next segment, we're going to be opened up for you guys for comments on the chat and the text, 254-339-1122. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. We just had Lance from over at Richard Carr here in studio. He was sitting around visiting. They're a great sponsor of the show, and they do great business as well. And been saying it for weeks now in regards to the car dealership fiasco going on, where inventory has been hard to come by. New inventory in particular has been hard to come by for a lot of dealerships because of computer chip shortages. And GM has announced that they're trying to correct that. They're ramping up the processes, and there should be new cars and trucks on their way sooner rather than later. But it's again, all stock has been affected. So everybody's kind of trying to bounce back from that. So this fall, GM's restarting production. Cars and trucks will be coming. That's the plan. And so what that means is you need to gear up and get yourself ready to get one of those new cars and trucks, because they're going to be in hot demand. And the way to do that sooner rather than later is to get on Richard Carr's priority list, their Choose Your Inbound Vehicle list. You do that, you get on that Choose Your Inbound Vehicle list, and you can be first in line for the car or truck you want as soon as they arrive. If you're looking for pickups, so you can check out the GMC Sierra from Richard Carr, a combination of power and strength with refinement and luxury. Sierra's the best truck on the road.
off-road. If you want a roomy SUV, well, they've got the Buick line of SUVs. Size, versatility, various designs to fit your lifestyle. Or maybe you're looking for a little combination of sophistication and luxury. Well, that means you should check out the power of a new Cadillac XT6 or the luxury of the Cadillac Escalade. Cars and trucks are coming, so get your name if you're looking for a new vehicle on Richard Carr's Choose Your Inbound vehicle list today and get your vehicle before anyone else. If you're looking to save today, though, you're not so much worried about getting the brand new vehicle. You're looking for a little bit more of the used action. Well, Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. All of them have gone through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot. And they love to say yes when dozens of other lenders say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. So if you're in the Central Texas area, check out Richard Carr because they are your local hometown dealership. Give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Richard Carr Motors, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Offset with Smith in the backfield on 2nd and goal. And instead, they come around with the tight end. Ben Sims takes it in.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. David Smoak off to Dallas for a Rolling Stones concert tonight. Got some good answers on that earlier on concerts you guys see. Mack Rhodes' bucket list, Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, and did he say the Eagles as well?
Yeah, you've seen the Eagles. But I saw Bruce Springsteen had to wait in New York City late at night. He had a show at a theater right next to my hotel the last time I was there. And I was coming back off the subway from a Red Sox-Yankees game. I went with Shorty from Shorty's Pizza Shack, as a matter of fact. And I'm getting off, and I'm walking to the hotel, and the streets blocked off on both sides because Bruce was leaving the show. And I'm sure this happens everywhere, but in New York City alone, Bruce Springsteen just can't walk out on the street and not get mobbed. Mm-hmm. And now he's like 70 years old, so you can't, even though he's in fantastic shape, you can't just expect, bad things not to happen. But Craig, I had to pee so bad that I didn't even, all these people are taking pictures of him, and I guarantee you there's pictures of me with my eyes closed, my head, my hands like, please. I didn't see him. I just saw, I heard the wave. I heard people taking pictures. And then when there was a police officer, he tapped me and goes, you can go now, because I told him, I got to.
I'm not worried about the boss.
And here I had my one shot to see him, and I was like, I don't care. My back teeth are floating, and I got to go.
Well, I'll probably, lose half the audience that may or may not like me, but, I'm not an official media member because I'm not a Springsteen fan. Yeah. I feel like that's one of the qualifications you have to be media, at least the older media, is you got to be a Springsteen fan, you got to love barbecue and craft beer. I think it's kind of like the trio of things that you have to like. Couldn't care. Beer means nothing as far as that goes. The barbecue stuff, cool. I'm not obsessed over it though. But I've never been a Springsteen fan. I think it's a generational thing, probably. I think it's probably just it just didn't connect with me.
I have he sings about 6 or 7 songs that I like. But again, I would go to see him in concert. But he's not someone that I just have everything.
He's the man.
Everything.
Yeah,
he's
I've
good.
never been
I'm the same way with Billy Joel. I like Billy Joel. I have no problem with Billy Joel, but I'm not deep cut Billy Joel. I'm Piano Man Billy Joel. Mm-hmm. I'm born in the USA Bruce Springsteen.
I'm nowhere close to when I hear about people who talk about how much he's meant. And I know his lyrics and all that. A lot of deep stuff, but it just hasn't never connected with me. Maybe it's an age thing. I don't know, but I definitely get the respect and why he's so beloved. But it's a good little concert tonight, Rolling Stones. I'm sure they still got it, to as much of an extent as they can. That's why they're out there still touring. But yeah, I don't know who, if I could narrow it down. I mean, I saw Elton John. I love Elton John. He's one of my favorite artists ever, and got to see him a couple years back in Dallas, and he was fantastic. I think that was a tour where he had to skip some dates because his voice was off, and we caught him the last concert before his voice went away. So that was great. I'm trying to think, a lot of the people I'd want to see are passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. It's sad. By the way, Red Wine, I used to like Springsteen until he did a Super Bowl commercial driving through Nebraska in winter with the top off. Who does that?
Yeah.
That's
fair. That's fair.
That is the kind of pettiness that I have about certain things.
Definitely.
When I'm like, I don't like that. I mean, everybody here is laughing because they know. But there's like, no, I'm not supporting that. I can't get behind that until they change. And again, I'll change that message. There's many companies I've been like, I'm not doing that until they fix whatever's going on there. And none of it's political. All of it's very, very petty. Very, very just like, that's dumb. I'm not supporting that. It has nothing to do with politics. It's just I think that commercial is dumb. It annoys me. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Armstrong knows. Armstrong and Jack have heard many of my rants. There are many things that, like, again, I would be the worst person to run for office because somebody would ask me what's the biggest problem facing America. I'm like, well, Maroon 5. I mean, we got to stop them. Like, this, they pulled the wool over our eyes for too long. I mean, who's with me? No one. Just me. I'm an army of one on that.
Yeah.
So, you just see the Super Bowl halftime show was dumb. We finally, although I will credit Maroon 5 this, their Super Bowl halftime show was so bad that in the coming years, the NFL has been like, hey, we can't have that again. We can't have Adam Levine taking off his clothes slowly to reveal more and more tattoos. That's the dumbest thing you can see in a football halftime show. Let's try and do something. I know the weekend didn't work out how they thought it would, but, at least they swung big on that one.
Yeah, they tried.
And I'm happy about this one, and hopefully that'll work out with Dr. Dre and Eminem and Snoop Dogg and Mary J. So.
Yeah, that's, Eminem would probably be one I'd love to see, but then again, not really because, I don't know, just the whole hip-hop concert thing, as far as, like, the quality of it, the quality of the music, it just doesn't, I've been to hip-hop shows, and it's just not the same as listening to the actual songs, so I don't know if I would enjoy that. I probably would, seeing Eminem perform, but, I don't know. I have to think about it some more.
Yeah, so, anyway, Craig, I was really interested. I want to go back to what some of the things Mack Rhodes said about this early coaching carousel and that the signing day affects it. And if you look at the current Baylor team, Matt Rhule would have had about a week when he got hired to get, maybe even less, to get that early signing period. And there's a lot of guys that are in this team right now because of that, because of Matt Rhule and the way he closed that recruiting class, which wasn't the best one he had, but it was pretty good considering he had no time and there was one guy in the class and that was Jalen Petrie. And so now I just wonder, I know they're trying to get ahead of the curve on recruiting, but if you're still not going to hire a coach until 3 weeks later, how much are you ahead of the curve anyway, especially when a lot of the coaches you're sending out aren't going to be there for these kids anyhow?
Yeah, I don't think it's so much about going and recruiting. It's about the recruits knowing who's going to be their coach.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. It's not like making sure they're at the high school sooner rather than later to recruit the kid. They can string them along with phone calls and text messages and whatever to keep their interest. It's who are you playing for? I mean, that's the question. That's the puzzle that you have to put together. And so if you're hoping to get the commit of some like wide receiver out of, Fort Worth or something, and he's got all these other teams coming after him, but he has some interest in TCU or whatever, then he wants to know who he's playing for. So if you can't tell him until like December 15th, and he's got a chance to sign with Alabama or Auburn in the next couple of days, well, there's a good chance he probably will go ahead and just sign with Alabama and Auburn rather than waiting on this team that he may or may not commit to hiring a freaking head football coach. So you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some urgency. I think this is a little bit too urgent. I know why Tech and TCU did what they did, but I don't know that they're really gaining that much, especially when the first domino drops and then the other dominoes drop. So, like, how much did Tech really gain by firing Matt Wills, like, with the 3-day head start or whatever the amount was? I mean, did they gain an advantage over TCU by doing it, whatever it was, 2 days beforehand or what have you? I don't think so. Now, if they had waited and done it a month from now, then yeah, Tech probably has more of an advantage in the coaching search because they would have been open and known to be open, and you wouldn't be going behind the scenes. But hell, Chris Del Conte hired Steve Sarkisian before Tom Herman was out the door. That's very clear as quickly as that happened. So, it can be done without damaging the guy. Like, that's why you could have kept Patterson on without even doing what you did. Have hired the replacement behind his back, and yeah, it would have been shady, but you could have done it, and it would have actually been less uglier than what you did because you wouldn't have had the whole, well, they didn't give him a choice. Well, they did give him a choice, but we shouldn't have given him a choice. Well, that's probably true. Like, he probably respectfully deserved to not be put in a middle of the season situation. So I think Donati could have probably done more behind the scenes and set that up a little bit better, a la Chris Del Conte. But, sometimes it doesn't work that way. So I don't know how much of an advantage they have. They're in the mix, but so is LSU, so is USC, so is, potentially others as well. So I'm very curious how that ends up benefiting them or not, and what the new guy, who the new guy is, and how much he's able to put together a recruiting class.
Yeah,
but it's all about recruiting, and it's really annoying. It really is. I mean, I get it. I get there's an entire industry, including the website we work for, that was based off of recruiting at some point or another, or still is. But I'm pretty tired of that driving every single thing when it comes to college football is the recruiting part of it.
Well, and look, I think, and the top 5 is about coaches on the hot seat. One of those guys on the list is Dan Mullen.
Hey, we got to get Gary Patterson out of here so we can go sign those guys that may or may not end up doing anything for us, and certainly will never do anything for us that will live up to what Gary Patterson did.
Yeah, and like one of those guys is Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen's on the hot seat, not necessarily because Florida's not that good right now, because it's still early on for him, but because he seems to kind of have a laissez-faire attitude towards recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, he does. And, at the same time, I saw where Manny Diaz, I think it was The Athletic, that had an article about him, and Miami's apparently going to be, ponying up, and they're going to show that they're, ready to spend and ready to spend big to make the program what they feel like it should be. And, because of Diaz's contract and just kind of, I guess, these last couple of wins for them, it looks like Manny Diaz is going to be sticking around as of today, based on what I was reading. And I'm sure that will not be a very long leash, but that's at least one job that looks like it could stay closed for the time being, that otherwise you throw into the mix, and all of a sudden Miami's in there, and we know that automatically goes towards Cristobal and whoever else. But that's one that maybe we thought would be open that might not be actually. But still, I mean, USC, LSU, TCU, Texas Tech, and so on and so forth will be plenty to digest over the next few weeks.
Yeah, there's 5 Power Fives right now. It's USC, LSU, Tech, TCU, and Washington State are the Power 5.
Yeah, I forgot Wazoo.
Yeah, Wazoo's open right now as well, and everybody's not fishing in the same pond. USC and LSU are fishing in the same pond, you would think, a little bit. Maybe not.
But that pond's dirtier than they think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's those types of schools typically, feel like, well, we're so-and-so. Like, why wouldn't a coach come here, And you hear that whole thing whenever their jobs open up. But sometimes, guys are repelled by the toxicity of being the big school and all that comes with that. Like USC's, disastrous administration over the years, or administration choices. And, at Texas, I mean, there are plenty of guys who could have taken that job before, not so much Sarkisian, because he was clearly lined up ahead of time, and Herman was as well. I mean, pretty much. I mean, the LSU came calm, but Herman was pretty much a lot to go to Texas. But the whole Charlie Strong thing, that was a different story. They won after Saban and couldn't get him. They, apparently talked to Meyer before, and,
Jimbo Fisher. And they, Jim Moore Jr.
Jim Moore went after all these big dogs, and they all said no. So, not everybody wants to do Longhorn Network obligations, or not everybody wants to deal with, all of that. So I can see a guy like Aranda staying at a smaller school. I could also see him, wanting the challenge. And same goes for everybody. His name just pops in my head because, he's somebody that I see LSU fans automatically assuming, or USC fans automatically assuming, that if they just offer, he's gone. And I don't think it's quite that simple. I think you're really taking away from, human nature and what people may enjoy. And it's not necessarily always going to the biggest school for the most money with the biggest expectations. There's other ways to find success, and I think some coaches have found that out. And so it's not a job for everybody.
Yeah. But Chris in the chat room asked Paul and Craig, I think Gruden needs a team to take a shot and help him rebuild his image. How long do you think Gruden waits before he gets an offer? Chris, a long time. Here's the problem with John Gruden. And whatever you think about what he said, whether you take it as he was kidding, or it ultimately does not matter what any of us think, because we're not the people who are going to be paying him and hiring him. What John Gruden, and the reason the Raiders had to fire John Gruden, was not because of of people getting mad about what he said on Twitter. That's not at all. I mean, that was a side effect of it. But John Gruden was fired because he has to go in that locker room and explain to a bunch of black players and the first openly gay active player on a main roster in the NFL that he was kidding. And then he has to constantly fight for credibility in that locker room. And that's just not a position that any team really wants to be in, with their coach, no matter how good a coach he may be, constantly trying to be like, no, I was kidding. So I don't think that any school is going to take a chance on him. Here's the other thing. John Gruden's a pro coach. And maybe he would be desperate enough to want to go and recruit, but the guy has not recruited an athlete in 35 years as a coach. So I don't know if you want a guy who doesn't know recruiting jumping in and trying to go talk to high school coaches, especially one that he's going to have to go into every high school coach and be like, listen, it was taken out of context. I know I said what I said, and blah, 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 over and over and over again. Plus, John Gruden's got more money than he knows what to do with, and he should probably go relax. Plus, in addition to that, it's not any school's job to help him build back his image. It's only John Gruden's job.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be really hard, and it's probably going to be a while. You know, I would still love, it'd be funny as hell for all those who maybe used to check out Rivals back in the day, you know, when it was kind of the only game in town there for a while. I guess Scout was around too, but I was mostly a Rivals guy back in the day, and I just remember all the message board posts of John Gruden to Tennessee and how long that lasted, that dream of occurring, and that would be hilarious if that eventually did end up happening. But no, I don't see him in any job happening anytime soon. I don't for one second think that John Gruden's some like racist, homophobic, hating person. I really don't believe that at all. But, you know, he said what he said, and I think right now, it's probably a little too toxic. And plus, he's going to be suing the league, it looks like. So, you know, he's going to be probably pretty caught up in that, and I'm not sure how that might affect any potential jobs. But it would be hard for a college to say, hey, here's our head coach John Gruden, like Super Bowl experience and this and that. Yeah, but why is he available? You know, and then you got to get into that, and that's where the buy-in from players. And he's got some rehab work to do, so to speak, some image rehabilitation to do, and we'll see how that goes before any type of legitimate probably return to coaching were to happen, if it does happen. I do want to mention a couple stories though real quick. That Henry Ruggs story, I did not get to an off the radar. But
I'm just going to follow up with Chris's last comment. I feel bad that a 10-year-old post would cost you your job. If you watch American History X, one of my favorite movies, by the way, you can see that people can change if given time and the opportunity. And I don't think John Gruden is as bad. He's not Edward Norton in that movie. He didn't curb stomp a guy just to curb stomp a guy in that movie, but like Edward Norton did. But it's just part of it is the environment that we live in America right now, and part of it is just that, you know, there's 53 guys, and they're not the same 53 guys every year. There's probably 20 new guys you got to do that to on the main roster, not to mention the 90 guys you're going to sign and bring in. And if you're the Raiders and trying to sign guys and bring them in, even at the bottom of your roster, when you're comparing guys, they're going to come and be like, well, John Gruden's still here? I don't know. I don't like that. And it's just a headache that they don't need. And it's something he's going to have to work out on his own, and then that's what he should have to do. And maybe locker room talk and all that, but we're at a point in American society where there's no just convenient excuse to get out of it anymore.
Well, how would you justify John Gruden getting a job before Eric Bieniemy, for example?
You can't.
I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, there's other guys who have been waiting their turns that you can make a very good case that they deserve their opportunities, and John Gruden getting back into the mix so quickly, I think would kind of be a slap in the face. So, just long answer, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. I did want to pass along, though. I wanted to cut off the radar because I knew we had to go at some point, but really bad story out of Las Vegas today with former Alabama wide receiver Henry Ruggs, who has now been charged in a DUI, a car crash that resulted in a death, and he's been charged with driving under the influence after the crash earlier today in Las Vegas. A woman died as a result. Ruggs and his female passenger both suffered injuries as well. He was okay, overall, and did hang around the scene apparently to speak to law enforcement officials. But he was driving his Corvette a little before 4 a.m. when it crashed into the back of a Toyota RAV4 on a busy thoroughfare a few miles from the Vegas Strip. The RAV4 caught fire and the driver died. Ruggs, just 22 years old, man, showed signs of impairment, and he's going to be charged with felony DUI resulting in death. So, bad news for Henry Ruggs, and obviously thoughts with the the family who lost their loved one, and that's just really tragic, and not the first time we've seen something like this in the NFL, quite frankly. I mean, this by no means means he's going away to jail forever and ever, or not playing ever again.
Leonard literally played the Super Bowl after
right.
and had a vehicular homicide, and I hope whatever happens is what's best for everyone.
Yeah, me too, man.
I mean, but don't drink and drive. I mean, that's why.
Just don't do it.
There's this great thing now that we. Part of the reason I think we used to have a lot of drinking and driving was because it was really hard to get cabs a lot of places you were. Unless you're in New York City, it's hard to get a cab. There's not public transportation late at night.
Well, the biggest reason why is the alcohol tells you you're okay to drive.
Yeah, exactly. But now, here's the thing. There's this great thing called Uber or Lyft. Yeah. You can just hit a button on your phone, and they come and put you in your house. Essentially.
Yeah, well, Henry Ruggs has got the money to do that, and hopefully next time he's smarter, and just hopefully, like you said, it works out best for those who it should work out for. And also did want to mention Jalen Smith cut by the Dolphins today. That's not the Dolphins, the Packers, but cut by the Packers. That was a short stint, and I know you texted me with a comment about that, but I just wanted to touch on that as well before we get to John.
He's got drop foot, and the Cowboys. Here's one thing you need to know about the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a team that will get every last drop out of a guy before they cut him. When they decided to cut Jalen Smith, it was really a message to the Packers of this guy's not good anymore. How many people, and I'm sure you can give me a couple names, but it's not a long list of people that left the Cowboys and then were super productive, outside of DeMarcus Ware, who went to the Broncos, and that was a salary cap move. But guys who were cut, and then it's just not, because that's what the Cowboys do. They squeeze every last drop out of you, and then you get cut. And that Jalen Smith drop foot wasn't going away. They managed to treat it well for a little while. He had a couple good seasons, but eventually it just kept getting a little bit, and he is not near the athlete he used to be. He's got a bright future ahead of him in business and whatever else he wants to do. And so, maybe he plays football for a little while longer, but he's already, set on the path to really good success in life, and I wish the best to Jalen Smith. So always when I cover the Cowboys and been up there, Jalen Smith was always great to me. I know he can get some kind of eye rollish to people sometimes because he's kind of a motivational speaker type vibe. He's got a little Tony Robbins to him, but he's a good dude who's good intentions and sometimes maybe talks a little over everybody's head. But I wish the best, and I think he's going to be wildly successful. You're going to hear CEO Jalen Smith in a long time, in a little while. So. That's going to do it for that segment. John McClain, next. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. If you are looking for a new home or trying to sell the one you're in, you need to call my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by EXP Realty, 254-214-3713. Look, it's crazy market right now. A seller's market. You do not want to do the for sale by owner and get left out in the cold and have your house just sitting in a seller's market out. Waiting to be bought for months and months and months, maybe even a year or so. In a market right now, there are people are moving into Waco and they want to buy houses. So call my good friend Lance, 254-214-3713. He'll get you a great deal on the house you're selling, and you'll be able to make the best deal on your house you're buying, because the last thing you want to do is dump all the profits you made from your great house sale down the new house you're buying. And if you're just buying a home for the first time, he'll help you navigate that crazy market as well, because it's not a buyer's market right now. It's a seller's market. Lance Donaldson, EXP Realty, 254-214-3713, or just Google Lance Donaldson, EXP Realty.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all midsize trucks. Get an early start to the Black Friday sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice, or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com, or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryant. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Well, today was the NFL trading deadline, and we'll get into that with John McClain. We did have a request earlier in the show, Craig, from Joseph Duarte, also employed by the Houston Chronicle, to not allow John McClain to talk about the Bears and Longhorns. But when I just talked to John as we got him on the air, that request unfortunately cannot be fulfilled. John, Bears and Longhorns on Saturday, your thoughts on that game?
It was a tremendous performance. And it's amazing to me how much better the Bears have gotten on the offensive and defensive lines, which is a credit to the coaches, credit to the players, of course. But man, they're so much better than they were last season. And Gary Bohannon, my goodness, the improvement he's made has been tremendous. But to whip those Longhorns, and the only good thing that comes from a poll assassin is Steve Sarkisian does not have to talk about getting his butt kicked by Baylor in Waco, because now everybody's going to be asking him about his special teams coach and the poll assassin.
Yes, I would say that's the first time Poll Assassin's been mentioned on the show, but that would be a lie. we definitely have talked about that as well. What a wild story out of Austin. No, it was a good win for Dave Aranda. He's obviously getting a lot more attention, and deservedly so, John. I am curious, though, your thoughts on something that's like really rattled a lot of coaches. I mean, Aranda yesterday in his press conference was nearly, in tears, talking about Gary Patterson's firing from TCU. I heard Lincoln Riley talking about it today. He wasn't happy. Matt Campbell, same thing. Seems pretty much across the board. Your thoughts on TCU and Gary Patterson splitting ways after 2 decades?
I have great respect for Gary Patterson and what he did with the Horned Frogs, but considering the rivalry that TCU and Baylor have, I even beating Texas, to me, is not as big a deal as beating the Horned Frogs, because Patterson had them so good in that 1 year when Baylor got shafted winning the conference, and I just thought that he did a great job, and I'm sorry he's gone, because it won't be nearly as much fun to beat TCU as it was with Patterson there. And it's going to be interesting. What if TCU hired Sonny Dykes from SMU? And what if SMU hired Gary Patterson to replace him? We would have a old-fashioned controversy in the Metroplex. So Patterson's going to coach again. You don't know where. He's got the ties in Texas. Would Texas Tech be interested in him? They're talking about Dykes there, but he will land on his feet somewhere. I'm pretty confident it'll be in Texas, if not someplace close by.
John, I'm curious. I know you're not, an NFL scout by any means, but you've seen a lot of guys come and go. What are your thoughts on Jalen Petrie at the next level?
Well, first of all, I, along with every Baylor fan, has special affinity for Petrie because he was the only recruit that didn't bail on Baylor in the scandal, and he stuck it out. Every time I see him make a play, he's going to have to play safety. He's too small to play linebacker. But if he runs well, because we know his toughness, we know his intelligence, and if he runs well when he gets to the combine, I could see him going in like the 3rd round. Now, there's a lot of time left.
Right.
Maybe he's got a chance to go up higher, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate Jalen Petrie. And I talk about that down here on my shows because he's from here, and every Baylor fan should have a special place in their heart for Petrie.
All right, John, for the NFL trade deadline, which there are a couple big things that happened. Obviously, Von Miller. Today, nothing really. I mean, Charles Omenihu was traded from the Texans for a 6th-round pick to the 49ers. But the biggest thing that didn't happen was Deshaun Watson. Is what cooled that other than the pending cases against him?
That was it. They had everything worked out. Watson had to reach settlements with the 22 accusers. The Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, insisted on that. They thought they had a deal a week and a half ago. They were ready to go, and Ross said, nope, I want it cleared up. And at that point, Watson had not done it. He didn't want to reach settlements. People close to him tell me that he thought that was an admission of guilt. But then when the deadline got close, he agreed to do it. And I don't know if his accusers asked for more. I'm not sure what happened, but he did not reach agreements in enough time. So now, truthfully, they were going to get 3 1s and a 3 and a 5 is what I was told. Now, if he gets those settlements done in the off season, teams are going to line up to get Watson, and they may get more than that because there's going to be so many teams that want him. The key is he's got a no-trade clause. He told them, I won't go anywhere but Miami. And Tua Tagovailoa, starting Sunday against the Texans, plays well over the last 9 games. Maybe he proves to his coaches and his owners, hey, I'm worth the 5th overall pick in 2020 that you thought I was. And so maybe the Dolphins drop out. Then where's he going to go? Philadelphia. If the draft were right Sunday, Philadelphia would have 3 first-round picks in the top 9. And the Eagles wanted Watson, but he said, nope, I'm not going to Philadelphia. So he's going to have to come up with a couple more teams. Carolina, Denver, Philadelphia, and Miami have been the 4 teams that have showed the most consistent interest, but I don't have to worry about it until March 16th. That's when the new league year begins. You can make trades again. Free agency starts. And I tell you guys, I've been talking about this for 10 months, and I'm glad nobody's going to want me to talk about Watson until probably about March the 10th.
I can only imagine, John. I can only imagine. Yeah, it'll be a nice little break. So Von Miller, to the Los Angeles Rams. The rich get richer. Your thoughts on the move for the former Texas A&M star? He was obviously very emotional and very, open in his feelings towards the city of Denver and that fan base. I thought that was really nice. But your thoughts on him heading to the Rams?
He's been treated like royalty there since he was our number one pick in 2011. Won a Super Bowl, was the MVP. And now he goes from a mediocre team to a great team. I just saw the Rams beat the Texans 38-22 in a game that was not that close. They already got a good pass rush with Aaron Donald, who had 1.5 sacks, and Leonard Floyd, who had 2. Now you put Von Miller on that defensive line. He can't be double-teamed because Aaron Donald gets double-teamed on every play. And if you're doubling him, you can't double both of the outside rushers. So the Rams at some point are going to have to pay the piper for getting rid of all these number one picks, and guys make a lot of money, but they're going all in. I've just seen them and the Cardinals in back-to-back weeks against the Texans, and I think the Rams are a better team, especially since the Cardinals have an injured Kyler Murray and they lost J.J. Watt for the season, and of course their Green Bay is the number 3 team with 1 loss in the NFC. It is a great conference. I thought in the Cowboys, they just got 1 fewer victories. And the NFC is so much better than the AFC right now. And then there's Tampa. Tampa just got beat at home. We got beat in New Orleans by the Saints. And they certainly didn't look like a team trying to win back-to-back Super Bowls. But the NFC is going to be fun. And if Dak Prescott can come back healthy and stay healthy, the Cowboys are contender to get home field advantage, and if he doesn't stay healthy, fans got to feel better about Cooper Rush.
I was just going to ask you about Cooper Rush, John, and how he, he saw 2 passes in his career, and that was pretty darn good showing on Sunday night.
Well, he's no Mike White from the Jets, who threw for 405 yards in his first career start, but Rush shocked everybody because if you watch Hard Knocks, as a lot of us did, you thought, okay, they got a problem at backup quarterback. And then what they did was go to Minnesota, win, put one more nail in Mike Zimmer's coffin as the Vikings head coach, and people could rest easy. It was such a big deal for the Cowboys to not have Dak Prescott and still win that game over a good team on the road.
John, what was the reasoning behind Charles Omenihu and his trade from the Texans, just about acquiring picks at this point?
Well, it was he didn't have a sack. He started 2 games, come off the bench in 2, bench for 2, came back the last 2. He had some pressures, but no sacks. Okay. And at this point, he's got to feel so happy he gets to go live in Northern California. And the 49ers are probably going to finish last in their division, but they're still a lot better than the Texans. And he gets a shot at his former team in the next to last game of the season in Santa Clara.
All right, John, thanks a lot. Again, we'll talk to you. You have anything else? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do. John, a little game tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
How are you feeling about
the World Series?
Game 6? Astros down 3-2. Obviously got that big win, had to win in game number 5. Despite the grand slam in the first inning, they still, come from behind to win that game. How are you feeling?
I thought they were going to lose when they hit the grand slam. I was sure they were going to lose, and then they came back to win. This has been a very resilient team for quite a while. They're starting a rookie pitcher on 3 days rest. But starting pitcher is no big deal anymore. Some guy that pitches a 6th inning gets a win, and by the time it's over, the managers have used so many pitchers, you forgot who that was. It's one reason the games are 4 hours long. I hope the Astros win to force the 7th game. And I'll tell you this, if they lose to the Braves, that's okay with me. I just didn't want it to be to the whiny, pouty, constantly complaining, white wine sipping Dodgers.
Love it. Love it.
That's a good ender, John. We'll talk to you again next week. Enjoy the weekend.
The best ending of all, Second Bears.
There you go. John McClain, Houston Chronicle, with us every Tuesday. When we come back, the top 5.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity if people have to pay things off as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio, Top 5 at 5:55. And now that we're full into the coaching carousel, nice graphic, Hayden. Top 5 hottest seats in coaching right now. After Gary Patterson's been let go and Matt Wells within the last, 72 hours or so, things are starting to get hot for a lot of people and decisions are being made. And it's because people are trying to get out in front of it and get in front of people and get interviews, because we've talked about it at length. But here are the top 5 names, at least to me, that seem to be the most recently in danger of getting fired before the season's over. Number 5, Jed Fish at Arizona. They haven't won a game. He's not been there that long, but it doesn't seem like he's doing anything that's working. So unless he can claim that all these problems are predate him, which maybe they do, Jedd Fisch might be in trouble.
Yeah, he didn't walk into a great situation. I think, he's probably got a little bit of time just for, the time that you should have, you should have a little bit of time. It's kind of what we were talking about with Patterson earlier and Mack Rhodes about how guys just don't have, they're not getting any time. It's like now. But yeah, Arizona's really bad. They were really bad. So I don't think he's probably, given the circumstances, most immediate danger, but he's definitely on the watch list. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think another guy who's on the watch list a little bit, and I hate this because I really like this coach, and I think, and he was kind of a hot name for other jobs a couple years ago, Seth Luttrell from North Texas, but they're not winning, and they're about to go into a new conference, and there's a lot going on there. I worry that the bell might toll for Seth here soon.
Yeah, Jedd Fisch has got, at least the ability of hey, I haven't really been around that long. Seth Luttrell's been at North Texas for a little while now. I'll never forget, doing the Earl Campbell Award. That thing really comes in handy as far as not only learning about a lot of the players from the state of Texas playing around college football, but then learning subsequently about a lot of college football teams. And, North Texas was a team that was pretty fun to follow a few years ago, and Mason Fine was their quarterback. He was tearing it up. And they had, some good receivers, good running backs, but
big one over Arkansas on that weird punt return thing.
Yeah, they were kind of on the verge of, being one of those teams that makes a little bit of noise down at the lower level. And, Phil Bennett's a friend of the show, and he went there this year as DC, and they're giving up a lot of points. And there's not enough on offense to really keep them above water. So it's been a struggle, and I don't know if he's lost his touch in Denton. But they're getting pretty close to where they're probably going to have to make a decision sooner rather than later.
But I hate this because I really like this coach. Yeah. I think that, and I don't know Jedd Fisch. I'm sure he's fine, but this one in particular. Number 3, Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech. They are, at the best, they're so boringly average in Virginia Tech, and he's the guy who took over for Frank Beamer. And it probably doesn't help that Frank Beamer's son took a head coaching job with South Carolina, and while that hasn't paid dividends yet, I think that's just fans. It's going to get fans mad. Justin Fuente's never really fit over there. He came from Memphis where he did a great job and is now at Virginia Tech. I think he'll be a head coach somewhere else really soon, but Virginia Tech does not seem to be the fit for Justin Fuente.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to speak too deeply about the cultural issues that may be there because that's, typically the people there know a heck of a lot more, and it's not always distributed, clearly in the media. But no, things just don't seem right there. They just don't. And I think, the whole flirtation that he had with the Baylor job before Dave Aranda was hired, I kind of wondered how that went over. He stomped that out pretty quick, and he said at the time, oh no, I turned down. He basically said that he turned down, an offer of sorts, or at least turned down the interest. And great, thank you, because man, it ended up with Dave Aranda, fantastic. But yeah, he's lost a little bit of his luster. I don't know what to think of Virginia Tech. That the team that I've been talking about lately as far as not having an identity is Texas Tech, and how they really need to find their identity. For the longest time, it was the air raid and, guys like Crabtree and a litany of quarterbacks and all that. And recently under Matt Wells, they just really had no identity whatsoever, and I kind of feel the same way with Virginia Tech.
Well, Frank Beamer was defense, run the ball,
Beamer
ball, special teams. We're going to block kicks. Yep. We're going to return kicks. We're going to beat you in field position all the time. And even when we don't have a quarterback, or even when we don't have something that may be a prolific offense, we're going to put you in positions that's going to be really hard for you to win, no matter at home and on the road. And that's what Frank Beamer did, and that's why he's a legend. We had him on the show. Remember, we had him on the show.
I watched the Virginia Tech game. I don't know if it was maybe earlier this season. Metallica starts playing, and I think it must have been early in the season. What did they play early?
Played North Carolina early.
And, it was probably that North Carolina.
And they won that game, right?
Yeah, I think it was probably the North Carolina game. Maybe it was I think it was the North Carolina game. But anyways, that's Virginia Tech football, man. And I felt that juice. And then, now I think about Virginia Tech. I have to be reminded about Virginia Tech because they're not in the top of mind anymore, and they used to be. Dude, you bring up the ACC, they're like the 7th team you mentioned now. you're like talking about Miami and FSU, and North Carolina gets mentioned before Virginia Tech these days. So, yeah, it's probably time for a little change.
Yeah, and number 2, Scott Frost. I've moved him down to number 2.
Wow, he's not number 1.
He's number 2. Well, number 1, you'll see who it is.
Right.
But number 2, Scott Frost. Nothing's working for Scott. It's not. And I think he needs Adrian Martinez to graduate and move on. As much as Adrian Martinez is the kind of quarterback that keeps you in and out of games simultaneously, like in the same moment. Yeah. He exists on 2 planes, and that's not what you want. And he's a very good athlete. That's a huge problem. They don't have a kicker either. They're still a dumb football team. I know Smokey's not here, so he can't, rail on this forever, but it's not working.
No, I ran down how they've lost games this year, or at least I ran down the scores, and then he provided the commentary on like how exactly that happened. And it was the big, you needed circus music playing in the background, yakety sax or whatever.
Yeah.
You needed something like that playing in the background because it's just comical how they've lost these close games and how much they've killed them. I mean, they could easily be like they're bowl eligible already.
They're 3-6, and not that I thought they would be undefeated, but they have had leads and points. They haven't gotten to the blowout part of their schedule
they haven't
yet.
been blown out.
Or they haven't been blown out.
They will this weekend.
They will this weekend,
Probably.
but now's the part of this is the wood chipper of the schedule, But
it just seems very toxic there. It doesn't seem like that match made in heaven has been a match at all. I know that that's the hard part of hiring a guy like that is that the only thing really keeping him there now at this point is the fact that he is former Nebraska quarterback Scott Frost. Like that's the thing and that's the downside to making a hire that's so close to home. But man, I was wrong on this one. I really thought he was going to go there and be great, and it's been anything but.
Yeah. All right. And number 1, Dan Mullen at Florida. Before the season, I wouldn't even thought this. I thought he was on pretty good footing there, but the fans are mad about his attitude towards recruiting. In addition to the fact that they're very average, they're breaking into a quarterback. Everybody knew who the better quarterback was, except for apparently Dan Mullen until last week. And then he throws the kid into the fire against Georgia. So there's all these inexplicable decisions that Dan Mullen is making. Florida is in the process of improving their facilities, which they kind of like Texas, let fall behind a little bit. And it's kind of surprising for a school that has a ton of money that they can throw behind things and is an SEC blue blood for sure. I mean, they've got 3 national titles. I mean, there's tons of great things that have gone on at Florida in their football program. But Dan Mullen, he can't, not only does he have a laissez-faire attitude towards recruiting, now he's not allowed to until the first of the year. So that's going to put them behind. And the sticking with Emory Jones at quarterback when Anthony Richardson was healthy and all these different things, the jorts-wearing crew in Gainesville is really, really mad right now. They are not happy with Dan Mullen, and that's a school that doesn't need to be average for very long. And they've had a run since Urban Meyer where they could not keep their head above water, and it makes absolutely no sense how they haven't been able to land, other than the fact that it's hard to find good coaches. And Dan Mullen, they thought maybe we get some of that Urban Meyer magic back because he used the OC on those teams, but nope. That's not what's happening there. And Dan Mullen, and just to give you a little statistic, in the time Dan Mullen's been at Florida, Georgia's recruited 27 5-star guys, Alabama 23, LSU 11, Dan Mullen's got 4. And when the number 1 rival in your conference is Georgia, the one you play every year, and they've got 23 more 5-stars than you, that's a gap that's hard to close. And I think Dan Mullen, if they lose this week, or if they lose to Florida State at the end of the year, he's getting canned. I mean, I think that the writing's on the wall for Dan Mullen.
Yeah, I don't know. It sure seems like it. Sure seems like that's heating up, and I know recruiting is a sticking point for a lot of people out there. I saw his little response that didn't go over well, and it seems like time is ticking a little bit, and the fit's not so good. So we'll see. I don't know how a lot of Gators fans feel out there, but certainly are a lot that I've seen that are feeling like a change is probably necessary sooner rather than later. So, yeah, that could be – talk about a massive job that could potentially open up. You throw USC, LSU, and throw Florida in there, and Man, that's going to be one hell of a carousel potentially.
Yeah.
It's already going to be regardless, but especially if Florida jumped in the mix.
Thanks to everybody in the chat room today. Thanks to Joseph Duarte, John McClain, Mack Rhodes, Drew Davison for being on the show today. Smokey's back tomorrow, hopefully recovered from a night watching the Rolling Stones. I'm Paul Catalina for Craig Smoak, for Jack, for Armstrong, for Hayden. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.